meet so many people and get to see so many things. To wear this jersey that the greats have worn, and it means everything. It's the tradition of the Dodgers and what it stands for. And wearing this jersey, I know I got to go out there and represent the city of LA. And I got to go out there and be a winner. And that's what I try to do every day.
Full moon over Camelback Ranch opening day at Dodger Stadium is now less than a week away. The Dodgers finishing up a long spring training. Tonight, well, we've got an NL West matchup for you. The Rockies are here in Glendale taking on Don Mattingly's Los Angeles Dodgers. Hello, everyone. So glad you could join us for Dodger Baseball. I'm Eric Collins alongside my partner, Steve Lyons. And believe it or not, we're 6 days away from opening day. And the Dodgers, they've still got 8 starting pitchers, Steve. One of those guys, Aaron Harang, going to get the ball today.
And there's no question, 8 starters is too many. The Dodgers are going to have to make a move. Maybe they'll make a trade. Someone's going to have to go to the bullpen. Aaron Harang's kind of one of those bubble guys. He has not had a good spring. His ERA is up over 8. But remember, last year he had double figures in wins and his career best ERA for this team last season.
Now, we do have some news to tell you about today with the Dodgers. Yasiel Puig, the sensation of spring training, he's been sent down to Double-A. And D. Gordon, last year starting shortstop for a time, he's been sent down to Triple-A.
Well, the other day we were talking about a decision that this team had to make. They had to figure out who was going to play shortstop for him. They've made that decision. Cruz is going to be your shortstop. D. Gordon opens the season, seasoning himself in Triple-A as a shortstop, and Puig's going to bounce around and play all the different outfield positions in Double-A. And if he tears it up, you'll see him in a Dodger uniform sometime.
All right, let's play some baseball. Getting ready for Dodger baseball here in the desert. Aaron Harang's going to get the ball. He'll face a former Dodger. John Garland gets the start for the Rockies. Ball here in the desert. NL West matchup, Rockies and Dodgers. This is the final home game of the year for the Dodgers here at Camelback Ranch, Glendale. And now we're 6 days away from opening up the season at Dodger Stadium. Game against the San Francisco Giants. With Steve Lyons, I'm Eric Collins. Let's take a look at first-year manager Walt Weiss's lineup card for the Rockies. Eric Young leads things off in center field, replacing Dexter Fowler. Reed Brignac, the former Tampa Bay Ray. Carlos Gonzalez out in left field. There's a familiar face. Michael Kadire at first. Tyler Colvin in right. Big-time prospect Nolan Arenado. He's going to be at third base today. Ramon Hernandez, the veteran behind the plate, with Jonathan Herrera replacing Troy Tulowitzki at shortstop. And former Dodger, a Dodger on 2 separate occasions, John Garland, recently acquired. He is going to be making his first start with the Rockies. facing that man. Aaron Harang, start number 5 here in the Cactus League for Aaron.
First thing you notice about Aaron Harang, different glasses he's wearing out there on the mound. And he's had a tough spring so far. You look at the numbers from last season, as we mentioned in the open of the show, that 3.61 ERA is the best of his career. He's in double figures in victories again, but 500 at 10-10. This spring has not been going so well. He's been giving up a bunch of hits. He's thrown just over 13 innings, but they got 24 hits against him. That high fastball that he loves to use isn't getting high enough into the zone to get guys to swing and miss. Right now, everybody's hitting it.
Well, he'll have some help behind him defensively. The Dodgers putting out their 18. Carl Crawford out in left field once again. Matt Kemp in center field, Ethier, of course, in right. Left side of the infield with Uribe and Luis Cruz, Mark Ellis, Adrian Gonzalez. That should be an airtight right side this year with Harang throwing to A.J. Ellis. Don Mattingly has been fairly consistent the last couple of days, putting what is expected to be his opening day lineup out on the field just to get ready. All right, let's play some baseball. Aaron Harang, his first pitch to Eric Young. And it says a little bit high and outside. Eric Young getting the start today. He will go north with the Rockies, but he won't be the everyday center fielder. That job still belongs to Dexter Fowler, who's having a terrific spring. Just getting the day off today. There's a strike. 7:05 start time here locally and 82 degrees. Very pleasant evening here in the desert.
It dawned on me that this is one of the very few ballparks that they don't announce the temperature back in your home where you play. Of course, it's Los Angeles, so you announce an 82-degree temperature here in the desert. Back home in L.A., 78. It's not like you're playing in Cleveland. Everybody, when you go to a Red Sox game in spring training, they certainly announce that it's a beautiful 85 degrees in South Florida, and back in Boston, minus 14. Doesn't happen in L.A.
Couple clouds in the sky, nothing to worry about. It has been another successful spring here for the Dodgers at Camelback Ranch. This is now the 5th year the Dodgers have trained here. I guess maybe in terms of wins and losses, it's not what Don Mattingly would have liked, but the attendance has once again been terrific. Just a couple of days ago, the Dodgers setting a new Cactus League record, not just here at Camelback, but at any facility here in Arizona. All-time attendance record, it was 13,721, shoehorning their way here into Camelback Ranch. The Dodgers taking on the Chicago White Sox, and the Dodgers a winner in front of 13,000. As a team, the Dodgers averaging close to 9,000 for their home slate here at Camelback Ranch. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and that one sails high. So a leadoff man aboard here in the top of the first inning for Aaron Harang.
That's what we're kind of talking about with Aaron Harang. Likes to throw the high fastball. You see that one sailing up and out of the zone. Young's not a very big guy up there. When you throw him a high fastball, you got to change your sights a little bit, and on a 3-2 count, it's not a good time to let one sail on you with Young's speed now leading off the game.
Rockies coming off a game in which they had their way offensively. Yesterday they played the Cleveland Indians, scored 18 runs on 26 hits. Steve, they had 3 different players who had 4 hits in the game.
It's a good spring right there.
They thought they were at Coors Field. Here's Reed Brignac. Brignac is one of these guys that, because of his situation in terms of experience, there's a good chance he's going to make the team. He is out of options, so he's got to make the team or be exposed to waivers if they wanted to send him down to the minor leagues. And they value him. So guys like DJ LeMahieu, Jonathan Herrera, who they like but still have options, may be in danger of not making the final roster.
You and I saw LeMahieu when he came up last year, and he did a good job bouncing around to the infield positions, hitting the ball well.
Runner on at first, nobody out, just getting started. Rockies and Dodgers here at Camelback Ranch. Not much of a lead for Eric Young. Dodgers still have a game here locally tomorrow. They're going to take on the Seattle Mariners. That's actually a wonderful pitching matchup. Clayton Kershaw against Felix Hernandez.
You don't get to see that matchup very often, do you? Well, will be a travel day for a lot of the Dodgers as well, trying to get out of town and back into the LA area where they have a split squad doubleheader on Friday against the Angels and also against the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes.
Starts on Thursday.
Thursday, right.
There goes the runner Young. Good pitch to throw down, and it's not in time. A.J. Ellis skips it down to second. Picked up by Luis Cruz, but the tag too late, and it's a stolen base for Eric Young.
Eric Young doing exactly what he did for this ball club last year. Had one of his best seasons, hitting up over 300. And he was just a really good spark plug for this ball club. He didn't get a lot of playing time, but when he got in there, it always seemed like he was the guy starting the rally or keeping it going. And we talked about his speed right there. Now standing on second base with nobody out.
Harang in trouble early. Misses down low. And once again, Aaron having to throw a whole bunch of pitches here against these Rocky hitters. Second straight batter that Harang has gone to a full count against. Carlos Gonzalez on deck. Payoff pitch may have been high and out of the zone, but Brignac chased it and fouls it back to the screen.
You kind of alluded to the fact that this might be a little bit of an audition for Aaron Harang, and you don't think in those terms when you're a guy who's had as much experience and wins as Harang has. But with the number of pitchers that the Dodgers have, they don't really feel like he's a guy that can come out of the bullpen because he takes too long to get warmed up.
That's consecutive walks to begin the game for Harang. And he's taken off those glasses. I think he's done with them. So trying to work with those glasses, and they obviously were not doing what he wanted. And Harang throws them to the third base side, and it's picked up. He will no longer wear the spectacles. Spring training, trying things out. If it doesn't work, get rid of it. This is an important start for Aaron Harang. So here's Carlos Gonzalez. Last year hitting over 300, 22 homers. This year the batting average just at 242 here in Cactus League play. And again, Harang having a hard time with that strike zone.
Dodgers pretty much know how their starting rotation is going to work out when this season begins. Of course, Kershaw's your opening day starter. Ryu will go game 2, then Beckett an off day, and then back to Greinke. It looks like Chad Billingsley may slip into that 5 spot, but you're also talking about guys like Capuano, Ted Lilly. There's a possibility that Lilly may not be healthy enough to start the season on the active roster. Might be on the DL. And, of course, Harang tonight. Not enough spots for everybody that's on this roster right now, and there's wide range speculation that this team is going to make a deal somewhere.
One ball, no strikes to Carlos Gonzalez. Another ball outside. Yeah, you were talking about the Freeway Series over the weekend against the Angels. Well, we're going to see Clayton Kershaw pitch against Seattle. That's still down here in Arizona tomorrow. But then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday against the Angels, you're going to see who we expect to be the 2, 3, and 4 starters for the Dodgers. Ryu, Beckett, and Greinke.
Their final tune-up starts before the regular season begins.
It's now 3-0 to Gonzalez. We saw Greinke pitch yesterday. That was a road game over in Surprise. Greinke pitching against his former team, the Royals. Didn't have a great start by any means, but he still has one more spring training tune-up before the season begins.
And you watch the way Aaron Harang throws. He's pretty straight up and down. He's not really a drop and drive guy. Gets a little lazy sometimes, straight up and down. and doesn't finish his delivery. There you see 4 straight balls. It's a nice, easy delivery when he pitches and when he's pitching effectively, but sometimes it gets into a groove where it just seems a little lazy. It's almost like he's not finishing that pitch off, not reaching out.
Just doesn't seem comfortable. Originally, we thought it was the glasses he was pitching with. So the first 2 men of the game, Young and Brignac, both have full counts and then eventually draw walks. And then the third guy, Carlos Gonzalez, just 4 pitches needed to walk him. So the bases loaded, nobody out, and Michael Kadire will bat.
What a nice pickup Kadire was for this team last season. Off to another hot start here in spring training, hitting up over 300.
Here's a strike. One ball, one strike to Kadire. Kadire is going to be the everyday right fielder when the season starts for the Rockies. Getting the start today at first, spelling the veteran Todd Helton.
One of the reasons they signed him is they thought that would be a natural progression for him.
Deep drive, deep right center, no doubt about it. A grand slam home run, Michael Kadire. And Aaron Harang not starting this one the way he would have liked. 3 straight walks, and then a home run by Michael Kadire. It's a 4-0 lead for the Rockies.
Kadire in the middle of that order has always been an outstanding run producer. All he's sitting on is dead red down the middle. He gets it and hammers it. He knows that Harang's in trouble. He knows he's had a tough time finding the strike zone, and he's just looking for anything out over the middle of the plate, knowing that Harang's got to come around the plate sooner or later. Jumped all over that one.
Bases clear, still nobody out. And now Tyler Colvin swings at the first pitch and loops it foul out of play. Well, there's still time for Aaron Harang to figure things out. This is obviously still a spring training game, and he's just trying to get into regular season form. I guess you could always just say, wipe those first 4 batters out of the memory banks and now show us what you got.
And it's a little different situation. I think we often talk about veteran pitchers coming in here and they have the opportunity to work on stuff. They can mess around with things. We saw Harang out there with the glasses on, took those off. Those weren't comfortable. But he's in a little bit different situation this time. I know that he knows there might be some writing on the wall there as far as what his job security is, especially in the rotation. He doesn't pitch well. He's not pitched well down here in this spring. May not be in the rotation.
That's a good comeback. On 3 pitches, he strikes out Colvin. That's the first out of this game.
That's the high fastball that he generally runs up in the zone and gets misses. So far today, he threw it either out of the zone. There you go. That's up and out of the strike zone. But Colvin chases it. It's always been his bread and butter. And this is a guy who led the National League in strikeouts one year in 2006.
Here's Nolan Arenado. Arenado is probably the #1 prospect in the Rockies chain, but he is not going to make the opening day roster. He's going to turn 22 on April 16th, so he's a young guy, hasn't played a day in the big leagues yet. And they want to make sure that he is finished developing before they call him up. They also are worried about him becoming arbitration eligible too soon. So these days, a lot of your best prospects, you keep them in the minors a little longer than maybe you need to or really want to, but you just want to make sure you have them under your contractual control for as long as possible. It just makes business sense. Arenado hits it foul, wide of the bag, down the third base line. Arenado makes his home in Lake Forest, California. Drafted in the second round back in 2009 out of El Toro High School. Fouled right back to the screen. Ball, 2 strikes to Arenado. The everyday third baseman, once the season starts for the Rockies, is going to be Chris Nelson. But Nelson is on shaky ground. A little bit outside, try to get him to chase. 2-2. When the Dodgers do bat, they're going to face John Garland. Garland, a Dodger, 2 separate occasions, 2009 and 2011. Didn't pitch at all last year. Now there's a good chance he is going to make this Rockies team and be probably the 4th starter.
Well, they just got him a few days ago. He was pitching in Seattle, and he opted out. He had an opt-out in his deal if they didn't think he was going to make the team. They told him they'd probably start him in AAA, so he said nope.
Line drive caught by Luis Cruz. They're now 2 outs.
So he did opt out. And I think that's a situation where you probably have your agent on the phones sniffing out the type of interest out there that might be for you before you make a move on an opt-out. I'm sure they probably talked to the Rockies and said, hey, would you be interested in him if he decides to get out of his deal with Seattle? And obviously the Rockies said sure. He's going to show up here, make 1 start, and probably go to Colorado as the 5th starter in the rotation.
Here's an interesting matchup right here. Aaron Harang pitching to Ramon Hernandez, a couple of veterans, and both kind of in the same situation. Harang trying to pitch not only to make the Dodger team, but maybe showcase himself for other teams. And Ramon Hernandez, more than likely, is not going to make this Rockies team. This is a guy who's been in the big leagues a long time, but right now it appears as if he is 3rd on the depth chart for the Rockies behind the plate. They've got Willeen Rosario, who was terrific a year ago, just wonderful power for the young player. And they also have Yorvi Torrealba. And it appears as if Torrealba is slightly ahead of Ramon Hernandez.
They have been showcasing Hernandez a little bit, showing other teams what he can do for the purposes of a possible trade before spring training ends.
Two. Lifted in the air, right field. Ethier makes the play. Side is retired, so a nice little comeback for Harang. He walks 3, gives up a grand slam, but then gets Colvin, Arenado, and Hernandez 1, 2, 3. Rockies 4-0. Aaron Harang giving up a grand slam home run to Michael Kadire. That was the big blow in the top of the first. Take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup card. Carl Crawford once again leading things off. He's hitting .350 in limited time so far this spring. Mark Ellis, followed by Matt Kemp. Adrian Gonzalez, the cleanup man. Andre Ethier in right field. Luis Cruz once again the shortstop. Juan Uribe, followed by A.J. Ellis and Aaron Harang. Dodgers as a team so far this spring doing a good job of getting on base, leading the Cactus League in on-base percentage, and also leading the Cactus League in stolen bases. Here's John Garland making his first start with the Rockies. He is a two-time Los Angeles Dodger.
He's been back and forth a couple of times. Now he gets this opportunity with the Colorado Rockies. Maybe he doesn't throw as hard as he used to. Missed a year and a half with arm issues. I tell you what, his numbers weren't all that bad. He had an ERA of 2.25 when he was in Seattle. They just decided that he wasn't going to fit into their plans, and Colorado decided he will.
He is greeted by a ringing single to center field. Carl Crawford, his 8th Cactus League base hit. He is now 8 for 21. 1 for 1 in stolen base attempts. He's on at first.
Carl Crawford in his career at Tampa Bay was known to have a little bit of power. I don't think that's going to be the factor that makes him a good player in a Dodger uniform. I don't think he's going to be hitting for a lot of power. I think you're going to see a lot of that. Hit hard singles through the middle of the infield, bounce the ball around a little bit, get on the bases, and run.
Here's Mark Ellis. He takes a fastball for strike one. Ellis now in his second year with the Dodgers, hit .258 with 7 homers a season ago. Ellis hitting .294 with a homer so far this spring.
Talking a little bit about that speed with Carl Crawford. He is the all-time leader in triples right now for all active players with 114. Of course, the usual suspects behind him, Jose Reyes, Johnny Damon, Juan Pierre, Jimmy Rollins, also in stolen bases. 3rd in active players right now, and the same guys up in front of him. Who's first?
Juan Pierre.
You got that right. And
Ichiro's got to be up there, right?
Yep.
What would be, if he stays healthy, what would be a good number for Carl Crawford to steal this year if you wanted him to be the contributor and the instigator that the Dodgers want him to be?
I'd like to see him get 35 to 40 again. I mean, that's definitely possible for him.
Double play ball, 6-4-3 on the twin kill. And Crawford raced at second. Ellis out at first. 2 outs, 1 swing of the bat.
Now, obviously it's been 10 years, but in 03 he stole 55 bases, then 59, 46, 58, 50, 25. Now, they have gone down over the last couple seasons. 2011 in Boston, his first year in Boston, which was very disappointing. He only stole 18 that year.
A limited time. How many games did he play that year?
Well, 130 that year, though.
Okay.
And then in 2012 was the really big limited time, 31 games, and of course didn't get a chance to run much. I think the big question mark for Carl Crawford, and I really believe he's going to be that guy. He has, if he plays his game, he will be the catalyst that makes this team a much, much better club. Consistently on base, ahead of some of the big boppers in this lineup.
2 balls, no strikes to Matt Kemp. Kemp hitting just .171 so far this spring. He's got 7 hits and 41 at bats. He's hit 1 homer. Nubs this one off the top of the bat. 2-1. Kemp, of course, coming back from a couple of injuries that were debilitating a year ago. Had that hamstring injury and then had that shoulder injury. Still trying to find his form. Another nubber off the top of the bat.
Most athletes will tell you that after you have a significant injury, it's not really the physical problems coming back from it that are the big hurdle to jump over. It's mentally saying, you know, can I air out a pitch or throw when I have to throw the ball? Or if I go back on a ball, you remember he injured himself running into an outfield wall.
Against these Rockies.
Yep. When I go back on a ball, is that in the back of my mind? I asked Matt today about that, and he said, I don't think about it. And to me, that's a great answer. Not thinking about it, then it's not a worry for you anymore.
3 balls, 2 strikes. And Garland misses inside. Kemp works the 2-out walk.
When you're a superstar player like Matt Kemp and you're hitting 171 in spring training, nobody really worries about it. The bell hasn't rung yet.
But if you're coming off an injury and you're hitting 171, do you worry about it?
A little bit more. We've seen Matt have subpar numbers in spring training and then get off to ridiculously fast starts.
Here's Adrian Gonzalez. Combined 18 homers, 108 runs batted in a year ago with both the Red Sox and the Dodgers. Adrian has the exact same amount of spring training at bats as Matt Kemp. Both have 41. Adrian has 11 hits and 2 homers. Kemp has 7 hits and 1 homer. Kemp has 3 steals in 3 attempts so far this spring. Called strike, 1-1.
Talking to Adrian today, saying that he doesn't do a whole lot of stuff left-handed. Gets left-handed, throws. Everything else I do is right-handed.
Garland's 1-1. I didn't mean to. Went around, a ball and 2 strikes.
He was talking about playing golf, and he does golf left-handed because it's similar to his swing. But he said a lot of times, well, I'll go somewhere with my buddies or whatever, and I'll get to a place and they don't have left-handed rental clubs, so I'll just play right-handed.
Oh. Pretty good hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
Now another famed athletic San Diegan like Adrian Gonzalez. Phil Mickelson. Mickelson does everything in the world right-handed. Everything with the lone exception of golf. You can even speak to it. You're a left-handed batter in the big leagues. You golf right-handed. You do everything else right-handed.
When I got my golf clubs a million years ago, I didn't play very often, but everyone told me at that point there are no good left-handed golfers. You have to golf right-handed. That was before lefty, and guys like Mike Weir, those guys are pretty good left-handed golfers.
Swing and a miss, Gonzalez, out number 3. We've played an inning here at Camelback Ranch, 4-0 Rockies. With one hit, big difference in that line score would be the 4 runs scored on that one hit for the Rockies. Michael Kadire, a first inning grand slam off of Aaron Harang, who walked the first 3 men of the game. After the grand slam, he did retire 3 Rockies in a row. We now play the second inning. Jonathan Herrera, John Garland, and then the top of the lineup, Eric Young. With Steve Lyons, I'm Eric Collins. Big story for the Dodgers over the next couple of days is figuring out how do you get 5 starting pitchers when you still got 8 in camp. Aaron Harang is one of those 8. Two-hopper picked up by Cruz. Out number 1. 4 in a row retired by Harang.
A good job there of getting ahead and getting early swings in these counts. We saw in the first inning how he got behind every hitter. They ended up putting a 4 spot on him.
Here's the pitcher, Garland. Garland has been around and around and around. Originally drafted in the first round by the Cubs. Was then traded. It's kind of a rare situation. Traded to the White Sox. Normally there aren't deals between those 2 Chicago teams. Ellis drops it on the outfield grass. I think he still had enough time to make the play, but he doesn't throw it to first. Couldn't get a grip on the ball. I think that's going to have to be an error, right?
I don't know. He went a long way to get that ball. I think they'll probably score this a hit. I think Ellis will say that he should have caught this ball. You can see it sinking on him. Just didn't quite reach out and catch it, then couldn't get a grip on it.
They do call it a hit. And first time this year, we're going to differ on that. And Mark Ellis is terrific. One of the best fielding second basemen in the history of the game, but
that's why
he makes that play not even 99 times out of 100. That'll be the only time in his career he doesn't make a play like that.
Well, that's what happens when you get the reputation of being an outstanding fielder. If you can't make the play, it's got to be a hit.
So back to the top of the lineup, and Eric Young takes a big swing and a miss at a Harang fastball, 0-1. So because that's ruled a hit, still no spring training errors for Mark Ellis. One and one. Two balls and a strike. Aaron Harang, his only season with the Dodgers coming a year ago. This is a guy with a track record, over 100 career wins at the big league level. Got number 100 a year ago in a Dodger uniform. Flipper into left field. Crawford going back, still going. He can't make the play. It's off the glove. Everyone's going to be safe. Garland not very aggressive on the bases, stops at second. And we'll have to await the ruling on that one. You want first dibs, Steve? What do you think?
Well, I think that one's an error this time. I mean, he got back there. And once again, when you have the speed of Carl Crawford and you actually get back there to make the play on the ball, now all you have to do is catch it. That's just an error.
That is an error on Crawford, his first error of the spring. Remember, he first started playing defensively just 3 days ago. Saturday's game against the White Sox, and hasn't played a full 9 innings in the outfield in any game. Now, Crawford normally is very good defensively. Never had a great arm out and left, but he's always covered a ton of ground.
Well, the blessing here for the Dodgers is the fact that Garland's on base in front of Young. So Young can't steal a base with Garland up there in front of him. And as you just witnessed, Garland's not going to be all that aggressive on the bases. Goodness. Might be tough to score him on a base hit.
Reed Brignac walked back in the first inning and scored on the Kadire grand slam. Garland on at second, Young trailing him. He's on at first. Two plays that the Dodgers could have made were not made here in the second inning. Mark Ellis Not coming up with a Garland hit ball. And Carl Crawford getting charged with an error on the Eric Young drive. Little bit inside. Rockies so far this spring, 3 games over 500. They're 15-12. That is a marked improvement from last year during the regular season. They struggled so much that Jim Tracy lost his job. New manager Walt Weiss. On the ground, right side. Gonzalez, aggressive play. Gets the force out at second. There are now 2 outs. Runners on at the corners. We saw that a year ago. Adrian Gonzalez is very aggressive, throwing the baseball around the diamond.
Well, he's a good athlete over there. A lot of guys play first base because they can't find another place to put him. But he's a first baseman by trade. And he knows every different scenario that you can come up with here. Watch how quickly he moves to his right. Right then he thought about, I got to get this out at second base. So he aggressively kind of charged that ball to his right, picked it up and threw it on the second, instead of taking an out at first base.
Steve, is there communication on that play, or does he just throw wherever he wants to? Well, is he told to throw it to second?
No. He makes that decision on his own, and all the other infielders react accordingly. If you're the shortstop on that play, the only place you can go is to cover second base. He may not throw it to you, but if he does, you better be there.
Two outs now. Runners on at first and at third. And the danger is Carlos Gonzalez batting against Harang. Gonzalez was the 3rd consecutive man walked by Harang. Back in the top of the first inning. Tries to check his swing, and he did not go.
Now, Eric, going back to that play, the ball hit to Gonzalez. He throws to second. There is some communication. One guy in the field will be yelling something. Who was that going to be?
Catcher.
What's he saying? Get over. Yelling at the pitcher to get over to cover first base because your first baseman is fielding the ball. They do it a million times down in spring training. They call it PFPs, pitchers fielding practice. And for at least the first 10 days, it seems like that's the only thing the pitchers are doing. They'll throw a ball, someone will hit it somewhere, and the catcher will scream at the pitcher to get over.
2 balls and a strike to Gonzalez. Juan Uribe goes the short way. The force is made at second. Harang gets in trouble and then gets out of trouble. It is still a 4-0 Rockies lead. here at Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona. The Cancer Treatment Centers of America. They're honoring a couple of cancer patients who live in the area. Martine and Mary Ellen Flores. They both have been announced to the crowd. Both teams are lined up across the baselines, and they're both hitting home runs. They're both running around the bases together. Kind of a nice sight to see.
Look how happy they are, too. I think they're finding out just how long a run that is. Each member of both teams giving them a high five as they cross by.
No, we wish them well. It's Martine and Mary Ellen Flores, both cancer patients, now having a word with Don Mattingly, and that's special.
Donnie signed a ball for both of them.
Yeah, it's a nice moment. Steve, we've seen Don now, Dodger manager for the last couple of years, kind of continuing that tradition of Dodger managers with Tommy Lasorda, just kind of being very, very fan-friendly, accessible, and those type of things, always willing to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, he never says no to anything, and you always see him front and center whenever there's an event like this.
Dodger baseball on KCAL 9, sponsored by your Southern California Toyota dealers. We make it easy. And by Carl's Jr., made from scratch buttermilk biscuits. Baked fresh every morning. We have played an inning and a half here in Glendale with Steve Lyons. I'm Eric Collins. It is a 4-0 lead for the Rockies. All 4 runs scoring in that first inning, first 4 men of the game, reaching against Aaron Harang. 3 straight walks. Looked like he was having a problem with the glasses he was wearing. And then just generally having a hard time finding the strike zone, walking Carlos Gonzalez without the glasses on 4 straight pitches. And then giving up the grand slam home run to Kadire. Harang wore glasses the first 2 men he faced. Eric Young, Reed Brignac, went to full counts on both of them and eventually lost them on bases on balls and said, you know what? This is an important start for me and the Dodgers. I need to put my best foot forward. I'm not experimenting with these glasses anymore. Took them off. Still walked Gonzalez on 4 pitches and then the grand slam.
Kadire came to the plate licking his chops, knowing that Harang was in trouble and had to be around the plate. Kadire found one he liked and hit it into the right center field seats.
Still time for the Dodgers to get their work in and come back against John Garland and this Rockies pitching staff. Andre Ethier leads things off here in the second inning. It'll be Ethier, Cruz, and Juan Uribe. First ball swinging. Ethier hits a drive deep left center field. Going back on it is Young. He can't make the play. That ball kept carrying on him. Look at Ethier scoot on his way to third. He's in there. Leadoff triple, Andre Ethier here in the second inning.
We talk time and time again how the ball travels so well here, but watch Young. It looks like he's just taking it easy there, just coasting, but the ball keeps going and going and going. That ball really didn't even hit the top of the wall, but Young did. It's a triple for Ethier, but we've already talked about balls that should have been caught in this ball game, and that's one of them.
Dodgers have 8 triples as a team so far on the year in 29 spring training games, and Andre Ethier has 3 of those 8 triples. So man on third, nobody out. Luis Cruz is the batter.
I think that's an example right there for outfielders how important it is to not drift on a ball. You got to get back there to where you think the ball's going to come down and be waiting for it. Young just drifted and drifted, thought he had it easily. Well, there's Cargo out there in left field and Young in center. And Young just really felt like he was going to have it easily, but then he didn't.
High pop up. Will it stay in the field of play? Near the Dodger dugout, Arenado makes the squeeze out number one. A frustrated Luis Cruz heading back into the dugout. So now it's up to Juan Uribe. Uribe didn't have those good numbers a year ago. He was banged up throughout the course of last season. Really has been injured his first 2 years for the most part with the Dodgers. But this spring has been different. Has missed a handful of games, but when he's been healthy enough to play, he's put up numbers. 15 hits so far this spring and 43 at-bats. Batting average of .349 with a homer and 6 runs batted in.
Well, one of the things that looks like Uribe's finally starting to learn a little bit is going up the middle and the other way just a little bit more. He was such a dead red pull hitter. Couldn't really hit anything unless it was on the inner half of the plate and soft. He's lost some weight. Looks a lot better in spring training this year. Still a lot of questions on where he fits into this ball club. Be part of that third base rotation over there, along with guys like Nick Punto and Jerry Hairston.
1 ball, 1 strike. John Garland pitching to his former Chicago White Sox teammate. They won a World Series together. Uribe, a soft bouncing ball right side. That's going to play to run. Ethier scores the Dodgers' first tally. RBI number 7 on the spring for Uribe. They're now 2 outs, but the Dodgers have cracked the seal against Garland.
Example right there of Uribe at least making an attempt to hit that ball up the middle where he could get the run in instead of being such a dead pull hitter like he has been for the first 2 seasons here in the Dodger uniform.
Infield is playing back. Why not just take the run? They're giving it to you. Hit a ground ball anywhere, and a run scores. 2 outs now. Bases clear. A.J. Ellis, the batter. A.J. 12 for 36 on the spring. Doesn't have a homer. Does have a couple of doubles. Now entering his 2nd season as the Dodger starter behind the plate. And Ellis hits this ball well. He's going to try and leg it out for 2. Well, he'll be content with a single. With 2 outs, a man aboard, and that's going to allow the pitcher, Aaron Harang, to bat here in the 2nd inning.
Seems like a much more quiet spring training for A.J. Ellis. Gets that one right in his happy zone and drills it into the gap over there. Young with the good speed gets it back in to hold him for a single. But you remember last year in spring training, a big talk all throughout spring was that this was finally A.J. Ellis' time. He was going to get a chance to be a starter for the first time in his career. This year, everyone knew that he was going to be the starter. Not too many people talking about it. And I think he's been able to just kind of sail through spring training and not have to answer all the questions and just play.
Here's Aaron Harang. Two balls, no strikes. This inning starting with a triple off the bat of Andre Ethier. Juan Uribe driving him in with a ground ball to the second baseman, Reed Brignac. Three and one now to Harang. Aaron's got one of the biggest strike zones in the game, and Garland can't find it.
He's not afraid to swing the bat either. On a 3-1 count, Aaron Harang probably thinks he's a hitter right now.
Here's the strike, 3-2. It's one of the things that John Garland has always done well. He's never been a big strikeout guy, but for the most part, he fills up that strike zone. Gets a lot of ground ball outs. Trusts the defense. And he's going to trust his own defense. Two-hopper. Garland throws out Harang. Side is retired. But the Dodgers, they do get on the board. An Ethier triple and an RBI ground out by Juan Uribe. It is now a 4-1 Rockies lead. COL 9, sponsored by Carl's Jr., made from scratch buttermilk biscuits, baked fresh every morning. And by your Southern California Chevy dealers. It's kind of a neat shot here. This is time-lapse, what happens getting ready for a game and starting a game, all the activity, the hustle and the bustle of a spring training game here at Camelback Ranch.
You see occasionally the little smoke that goes across the screen. What's that from?
Firing up the Italian sausage.
And the island noodles.
You like the island noodles.
Noodles, pretty good here.
You have been a convert. You can't come here without getting the island noodles.
They smell so good when you walk through the stadium. You got to have them.
I'll tell you what, we were over in Surprise, which is the spring training facility for the Royals and the Rangers. Dodgers playing the Royals yesterday. And spring training baseball, all of it is just terrific. That place doesn't hold a candle to Camelback Ranch.
Nope. Could say that about most of the facilities over here, although there are some really nice ones, but it just didn't have the finer touches that Camelback Ranch has here.
Michael Kadire leads things off against Aaron Harang. This battle was won by Kadire first time around. Aaron Harang walking the first 3 men of the game and then giving up a grand slam to Kadire. You know me, I was testing every single food variety that they had at Surprise Stadium. And, okay. Nothing jumped off the page. Right side of the infield, Mark Ellis makes the play. So this time, Harang able to retire Kadire. One out here in the third inning. Now the big news around Camelback Ranch today in terms of the Dodgers. A couple of guys who are having decent springs sent down. D. Gordon, last year, it's opening day, starting shortstop. He's going to begin the year playing AAA baseball in Albuquerque. And Yasiel Puig, who is hitting .526 so far this spring for the Dodgers with some power, too. He got sent down to AA.
I asked Don Mattingly what the reasoning was as to why one guy went to AA, one guy went to AAA, and he said it was kind of always the game plan. They knew that Puig would probably start the year in AA, and D was going to go to AAA, and it was something that they told him from the get-go. But I think you got to, if you're a Dodger fan, you at least have to be proud of the way D. Gordon showed up here, prepared himself a little bit better. He looked good in spring training. His defense is a little bit better. He was getting his hits. He was stealing bases. But they told him from pretty much the offseason that it looks like you're headed back to AAA, and so it wasn't a big surprise to anybody.
Big swing and a miss. Ball and 2 strikes. Harang pitching to Tyler Colvin. Yeah, D. Gordon's numbers weren't terrific. His batting average is .206, but the secondary numbers were what you want. You just want him to get on base. Don't care how he does it. And D did that. His on-base percentage was .386, in large part because he walked 10 times. That is a team high, 10 walks, as Colvin strikes out. For Aaron Harang, that is now strikeout number 2. Now, Dodger and Hello Kitty fans, a reminder, Wednesday, April 17th, the first 50,000 fans at the game against the San Diego Padres. They'll receive their own Dodger-themed Hello Kitty fleece blanket. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. First 50,000. A lot of blankets.
Oh, they don't mess around. Dodger promotions, they do not mess around. It's not like the first 10,000 people that come through the door and you have to fight people to get your blanket. 50,000. Not too many more people fit in the stadium.
Yeah, if you're not getting a blanket when you go home, you're not paying attention. Quickly, 2 outs here in this third inning. Here's Nolan Arenado, California kid. Hits it softly on the ground. Cruz, quick hands, fields and fires. Arenado is retired. Aaron Harang maybe figuring things out. Pitching for his professional career. Is it in L.A.? Is it somewhere else? And Harang is right at the ship. Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona. Final spring training home game for the Dodgers. Rockies on top 4-1. The first four batters of the game all reaching safely and scoring for the Rockies. Michael Kadire a grand slam after 3 straight walks to Young, Brignac, and Carlos Gonzalez. Dodgers able to get a run back in the second on an Andre Ethier triple and a Juan Uribe RBI ground out. Here's Carl Crawford leading things off against John Garland. And there's a called strike one. Just 21 spring training at bats for Crawford with that single back in the first inning. He is 8 for 21 with a homer. On the ground softly, right side. Brignac throws out Crawford. Well, we are going to talk to Dodger third base coach Tim Wallach when we get to inning number 4. Eli down the third base line. Tim Wallach had a busy offseason. I know the Boston Red Sox were seriously considering him as a managerial candidate. Eventually decided to get John Farrell, former Blue Jays manager, but Tim Wallach, probably sooner rather than later, is going to have an opportunity to manage in the big leagues. Mark Ellis retired on one pitch, quickly 2 down here in the bottom of the third.
Now, Wallach is also a front runner in the Dodger organization to become the manager as well. Very well respected around the game. Former teammate of mine way back when we played together in Montreal. Indeed.
We're heading up north of the border this year. Dodgers are going to play against the Blue Jays. Excited to get back to you. You played up there against the Blue Jays back at an old stadium.
Well, yeah,
exhibition.
Played in the old one and the new one. Yeah, that's. Who said something? Was it Lloyd Mosby, I think, who said when they opened up Sky Dome there, he said it's like playing baseball in a shopping mall.
Here's Matt Kemp. Kemp walked back in the first inning against John Garland.
I want to say that when the Sky Dome originally opened up, a lot of their concession stands were McDonald's. They were credited literally with like the largest McDonald's in the nation.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Expos and the Blue Jays are the only 2 Canadian franchises over the years. Expos have had 2 ballparks. Both of them had turf. The Expos had 2 stadiums, Jerry Park and Olympic Stadium. Did Jerry Park have grass or did they have turf?
I think they had grass.
You're right. They had grass. Okay. So 3 out of the 4 stadiums used in the big leagues up in Canada had turf, and Jerry Park, the original one, had grass. Okay.
And in Toronto, the most efficient opening roof in baseball cost them like $6 to open it up. And in Montreal, the roof doesn't work at all. That was supposed to retract, just got stuck.
And it's called Olympic Stadium because that's where the 1976 Summer Olympics were held. That was the Bruce Jenner Olympics. 3-2 pitch to Kemp. And he fouls that one at the plate. He's disappointed with himself. We'll do it again. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Kemp batting against John Garland.
I think Kemp might be upset with himself for maybe swinging at a pitch that might have been a ball, but he had to be very relieved that he got enough of that to foul it off to keep himself alive in this at-bat. Maybe get himself a chance to see a better pitch to hit.
Lists this one fouling out of play.
When you talk to Don Mattingly about Kemp and the fact that he's hitting about $170 down here, those are not good numbers. But Mattingly's not looking at the numbers. He's looking for signs that Matt Kemp's the player he was. And he said his bat speed is fine. If I was worried about his bat speed, that he looked slow, it would be a different story. But right now, it doesn't look that way. Well, we show that center field camera when Matt's standing at the plate. You see where he is in relation to home plate. And if you're an opposing pitcher trying to get him out, he just looks so imposing, like there's no place you can throw it and get him out.
Hard smash knocks Herrera to the ground, but he's still able to make the play. Jonathan Herrera doing his Troy Tulowitzki impersonation. He throws out Kemp. It is a 1-2-3 third inning. When we come back, we will talk to Dodger third base coach Tim Wallach. Don't go anywhere. Three innings, it is a 4-1 lead. Rockies on top of the Dodgers. Joining us now here for this fourth inning is Dodger third base coach Tim Wallach. Tim, we appreciate you spending time with us right out of the chute. This has been a longer than normal spring training because of the World Baseball Classic. How eager are you to get the regular season started?
I think we're all ready. Yeah, with the World Baseball Classic, it does stretch things out, but you need it to. You need to get the guys a little bit ready to go play in that, and then we got to get them ready for when the season starts. So it's been productive, but yeah, long. We're all ready to go.
And Tim, it might be a blessing for this ball club when you think of guys like, it gives Crawford a little bit more time, even Matt in center field a little bit more time to heal, and a guy like Billingsley as well.
No question. It's different when if they don't come in until the last week of February, whereas we came in on the 12th. Then you're rushing to get them ready. We've had plenty of time. We haven't had to rush it. They've been able to get their at-bats when they can. Bills has been able to get himself ready to go. So I think it's been actually a blessing for us.
You and I talked a little bit earlier today about the sensation here at camp, Yasiel Puig, and what he did. He kind of lit things on fire. He's an exciting player. Obviously got sent back to AA, probably exactly where he belongs. But, wow, he is some kind of beast of a player, isn't he?
He's something else. I mean, people talk about 5 tools. He's got them all, and he plays the game really hard, which is fun to see. You see the young guys, that's what we try and instill in all of our players, but it's nice to see a kid come in like that and just play it all out, every pitch, every play. And I think it's kind of infectious for everybody. It makes everybody else want to go out there and play the same way.
Tim, can you talk about the dynamic on the coaching staff? Obviously a new face in the dugout, new hitting coach in Mark McGuire. You guys got a whole bunch of home runs in that coaching staff with you and Mark and, of course, Don Mattingly.
Well, yeah, we got that was a long time ago. You won't see any of us taking BP anytime soon. I can guarantee you that. But, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of guys that have played a long time in the big leagues, and we hope that translates into positive things, and we can give them what we know, and just any little thing that can help us be the best club we can be. We're going to try and get that input in there.
And Tim, we have kind of interesting dynamic we were watching up here in the booth on Saturday. You're of course coaching third base, and your son Matt had a chance to bat, and there were runners on the bases, and you doing your job, you had to turn your back almost to the plate. So it's kind of an odd thing. A dad wants to watch his son play the game, and you kind of had your back to him.
Well, yeah, I got to protect myself a little bit. I have to watch the runner at second base, but it's really been. I can't even tell you what a blessing and joy it's been for me to have him in camp and still be here and have some success. And he's done a great job catching. I know he'd like to have a few more hits, but he's taking pretty good at bats. It's been a lot of fun.
Tim, I'm not asking you to say anything out of school here, and I know Donnie gives all his coaches liberties to have their opinions. How comfortable are you right now with this ball club as we head to L.A. here in a day or so?
I feel good about it. You know, certainly we'd love to have Hanley playing shortstop, but that's the nature of this game. We've got plenty of other guys that can pick that up. Louis was a shortstop. He came up as that last year. I'm very comfortable. I love our pitching. I love our bullpen, and I think our defense is going to be outstanding. I like our club. I think we're all excited, and we all are looking forward to positive things this year throughout the year.
Well, Coach, really appreciate your time. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes, and Aaron Harang working against John Garland. All right, we expected that. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Okay, Coach?
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
There's Tim Wallach joining us. This is Joy here in the 4th inning. A 1-2-3 4th for Aaron Harang. Channel 9, sponsored by Morongo Casino Resort and Spa. Good times. Well, Aaron Harang has done a decent job of limiting the damage. He gave up 4 runs, the first 4 men he faced, all reached and scored, 3 walks and a grand slam, but since hadn't been touched up. He's only given up 1 hit since that first inning, and even that was dubious. It was the pitcher, John Garland, hit a little flare that Mark Ellis normally makes. Didn't make the play, and it was ruled a soft base hit for Garland.
Well, I think you
and
talked
that was
about
the only
it.
base runner allowed by Harang, besides the other error made by Carl Crawford.
You said something right away about it. After he walked the first 3 guys, Kadire goes deep. It's a granny. They put 4 runs on the board, and you said, hey, wipe it out of your memory. Wipe it clean. Start over, and he has done that.
Yeah, what the Dodgers and anyone watching this game is really looking for out of Aaron Harang, you would imagine, is stuff. I think the results are kind of neither here nor there. You obviously don't want to walk 3 consecutive guys, but are you impressed with the velocity, the movement, the moxie that Aaron Harang has entering the season? Here's Adrian Gonzalez down in the count 0-1 to John Garland. Gonzalez striking out his only time up against Garland. That ended the first inning. That is the only strikeout for John Garland. Oh, and 2. We have already seen 2 Dodgers in the starting lineup be replaced. Andre Ethier lifted after his triple in the second inning. And an inning ago, Mark Ellis taken out of the game. Ethier's been replaced by Alex Castellanos. And Skip Schumacher now into the game, replacing Mark Ellis. Routine fly to left. Gonzalez makes the play. Gonzalez now 11 for 43 on the spring. Been putting the ball in play for the most part. That strikeout in the first inning, just his 5th so far this spring. Here's Castellanos, his first at bat. Didn't have great numbers in his first tour of the big leagues a year ago with the Dodgers, but he's had a really nice spring, particularly the power numbers.
Yeah, he's hit the ball out of the park. He's driven in runs, opened up a few eyes. Not really a spot on this roster for him to make the big club. Leads the team in both home runs and RBIs down here in spring training. Would not have expected that out of a guy like him.
Castellanos, originally property of the St. Louis Cardinals. He was traded from the Cardinals to the Dodgers in the deal that sent COL to the Cardinals a couple of years ago. Rafael COL actually not going to play at all this year. COL hurting his elbow once again, just kind of a routine thing. And he's going to have Tommy John surgery. He will not play at all this year for the Cardinals.
Wow.
Rafi's just been, it's the back, it's the elbow, it always seems to be something with him.
Well, he's a little guy and he plays hard.
Maybe a broken bat into left field. Another chance for Gonzalez. 2 down.
St. Louis as a team is pretty banged up going into the season as well, with Freese starting the year on the DL. For a call out.
Carpenter not going to be able to play. They didn't even make an attempt to bring back Kyle Loesch. Kyle Loesch won 16 games for the Cardinals a year ago. He just signed yesterday with the Milwaukee Brewers. 2 down, nobody on. Luis Cruz.
They say Loesch has been pitching enough on his own, working out with some college teams, that they feel like he'll be able to make his first start in the big leagues by mid-April.
One and one to Cruz. That's a strange deal. Loesch has been pretty darn good for the last handful of years.
Well, he overpriced himself maybe a little bit. He still got an outstanding deal, but I think a lot of the numbers that they were bantering around there early on when they were talking about what he was asking for were out of what anyone wanted to pay, and that's why he didn't sign with anyone.
In a left field, shallow. Shortstop Herrera makes the catch, and the side is retired. 3 pop-ups off the bat of the Dodgers here in the 4th inning. We've made it through 4. It is a 4-1 Rockies lead. Rockies on top of the Dodgers, 4-1. Clayton Kershaw taking this one in out in the bullpen. He will be the Dodger opening day starter. It's going to be his 3rd opening day start. Tonight's trivia question: who has the most opening day starts as a Dodger pitcher?
I know that answer.
You know the answer.
I do know that answer.
Really confident. Just to clarify, it's Dodger history. Brooklyn, Los Angeles, and the history of the Dodger franchise. You're still pretty confident.
I know that answer.
Aaron Harang has, I'll tell you what, his first 4 batters, not good. 3 straight walks and a grand slam to begin the game. But since then, he has only allowed 2 base runners. One on a flare base hit by the pitcher on a ball that Mark Ellis normally is able to make. And another base runner, Eric Young, a fly to left that was ruled an error on Carl Crawford. Officially, he is retired 8 in a row. And that streak comes to an end. Eric Young drives it into the gap right center field. Castellanos going to get it back to the infield, but it'll be a standing 2-bagger for Young.
Watch this pitch right down the middle. Nothing really special about the pitch or the location, and that's why Young just hammered it into the gap there.
Steve, we were talking in that first inning about how Aaron Harang needed to just kind of flush the first 4 batters and then move on. And really, he's pitching just to show off velocity, to show off movement, to show off moxie, that kind of stuff. What have you seen out of Aaron Harang if you eliminate that first inning that he had?
Well, obviously after that, I mean, he's been outstanding. There you give up the first hit in almost 3 innings. The first 4 hitters of the game were bad. Unfortunately, that anytime you're in a game like this, you can't really discount those first 4 hitters. There's 4 runs on the board. Those don't go away.
But it is spring training.
Sure, but he, like we said, he's also in maybe a little bit different situation than he has been since maybe his rookie season trying to make a big league club. He's always been an established major leaguer, but this year with 8 starters, he is one of the guys that is being considered to do something other than being in the starting rotation. Pitch out of the bullpen. Maybe there's a deal in the works. Can't have 8 starters. They've already pretty much announced who their starting rotation is going to be. Kershaw, Ryu, Beckett, Greinke, and then a 5th. We already talked about the possibility of Ted Lilly might wind up on the DL to start the year, but then you're looking at Harang, Billingsley, and Capuano. 3 guys for 1 spot.
0-2 to Brignac. Misses inside.
A lot of people believe that between Capuano and Harang, that Capuano would be better suited to pitch out of the bullpen because he doesn't take as long to get loose and ready. Harang's one of those guys that takes a little while. They don't think he could get up and get ready to come into a game on a 10-pitch notice. So where does that leave you?
On the ground, right side. Skip Schumacher. That's his first chance. He throws out Brignac. There's 1 out. Eric Young now over at third. Don Mattingly telling us earlier today, just in terms of the pitching situation, that Chad Billingsley, remember, at last blush, we were told that Rick Honeycutt, Don Mattingly deciding between Ryu and Billingsley to start the second game of the year. It's now going to be Ryu. Chad continues to have a problem with that finger, and they want to make sure that he is as right as possible. Hadn't been throwing as many curveballs as he would like just because of pain in the finger. So Chad is now officially out of the mix to begin the season as the number 2 guy.
Kind of funny because yesterday, after Billingsley had pitched, he declared himself definitely eligible to pitch game 2. The decision was made to not have him be in that position, and they were talking about whoever did not make that game 2 start might be kind of a swing man, kind of a guy out of the bullpen, and then the 5th starter.
Dodgers playing the infield in, and Carlos Gonzalez hits it over the infield. RBI single for Cargo. That is now run number 5 for the Rockies. RBI number 11 on the spring for Gonzalez.
Well, Dodger fans know very well who this guy is right here. Cargo, one of the best players in the game. Just a nice, easy swing. Didn't get all of that. But drops it into center field for a base hit and another run produced for one of the best in the game at it.
Michael Kadire, 1 for 2 with a grand slam and a ground out to second. Kadire takes a breaking ball for strike one. Kadire, a former first-round pick of the Minnesota Twins, spent his entire career in the Twins chain until a year ago, signing as a free agent with the Rockies. He had a nice year last year, but Rockies sure didn't. They were awful.
Gonzalez squared over there.
Aha.
2 of them.
On the ground, foul, wide of the bag.
It's interesting, too, when I talked to Kadire last year about his decision on where he wanted to play. He said, I've been in Minnesota for a long time. I saw a big transition there. We went from being a young team to a veteran team, a team that was pretty good, a team that was kind of changing and heading in the wrong direction as far as he was concerned, and wanted to go somewhere where there was a veteran presence to play with. And he picked Colorado because of the older veteran guys that were on the team. Figured he could fit in well with them.
One of those older guys a year ago, Jason Giambi, no longer with the Rockies. Actually, Giambi was in the mix to be the manager of the Rockies. He got passed over for Walt Weiss. Giambi is now in the Indians camp. There's a chance that he is going to make that team. There's a strike 3, Aaron Harang with 4 strikeouts now. He strikes out Kadire, so he retires Kadire twice in a row after giving up a grand slam to him.
That's a nice pitch right down there on the knees, just a little bit outer half. Kadire doesn't have much to argue with right there.
And now here's a layup. Aaron Harang has owned Tyler Colvin. Colvin strikeout swinging in the first and a strikeout swinging in the third.
Kind of an interesting dynamic when you talk about Giambi, too. How do you go from being a guy who's considered to be a manager of one team to going elsewhere and playing for the Indians?
I'm with you on that. Well, what's more strange? That happening or Walt Weiss getting the job as the manager, and he has absolutely zero managerial experience. Little flare off of Colvin's bat, that's going to squirt foul.
Well, that's kind of the norm these days. Robin Ventura, White Sox manager last year, no managing experience. In fact, Robin told me that when Jerry Reinsdorf called him and said, we want to offer you the managing job, Robin laughed. He said he thought he was joking.
Yeah, Mike Matheny in St. Louis.
Same thing. I think that, to me that signifies that organizations are really putting less importance on who actually manages the team and more importance on a group of a manager and coaches that collaborate and make sure that they get things done the right way. I don't think it necessarily has to be a figurehead manager these days, rather than a group of coaches that know what they're doing and make sure that the team plays the way they're supposed to.
And I've heard a bunch of organizations talk about a partnership between the general manager and the manager. Kind of an equal level. Everyone talks about things together. How are we going to play this game? How are we going to form this roster?
Well, you have to think that if you don't have some type of partnership between your manager and your general manager, you're not going to have a lot of success. Those two guys aren't on the same page, or at least discuss things that are going on. Don Mattingly doesn't get a lot of say in personnel moves. They say, we're going to get you the players, you manage them.
Colvin pops it up, shallow right field. Schumacher makes the call, makes the play. Side is retired. Rockies do score another run off of Aaron Harang. They now lead 5-1. SoCal 9, sponsored by Time Warner Cable. Enjoy all the things you love better. Call Time Warner Cable, 1-855-WANT-TWC. With Steve Lyons, I'm Eric Collins. Bottom of the 5th inning, final spring training home game for the Dodgers, and the Rockies leading 5-1. If you take away the first 4 batters of the game, it's a 1-1 tie. Aaron Harang struggling out of the chute, walked the first 3 men of the game, and then gave up a grand slam home run to Michael Kadire. So John Garland, ahead of his former team,
this
5-1.
Game is not played the way you play golf with multiple mulligans.
John Garland throws strike 1 to Juan Uribe. These two winning a World Series together back in 2005 with the Chicago White Sox. John Garland pitching a complete game win in that World Series against the Houston Astros. That was probably his best season as a big leaguer. John Garland making an all-star team, winning a World Series. He's had a solid big league career. Shortstop Herrera throws out Uribe, who got down the line pretty well. 1 up and 1 down here in the 5th.
As of about 5 days ago, Uribe was barking a little bit. The right hamstring was bothering him, but he looked pretty good getting down the line right there.
So A.J. Ellis will grab a bat. A.J. had a single, sharp single into the gap in left center field back in the 2nd inning. He is now 13 for 37 on the spring. Missed the story earlier today. John Garland, up until about 3 days ago, was in spring training with the Seattle Mariners. Didn't pitch at all a year ago. Trying to make a comeback, was in the Mariners camp. Actually pitched really well. Started 4 games with the Mariners, went 12 innings, gave up just 10 hits, 3 earned runs. But they just didn't have room on the roster for him, so he asked to be released and quickly signed with these Rockies. This is his first go around with the Rockies, and he's been impressive. 1 run allowed on 3 hits through the first 4 1/3.
Obviously, John Garland hoping to pitch in the big leagues for a team that wants him around. I'm not so sure that the Colorado Rockies, as a pitcher, would be your first choice.
Over to third, play is made by Arenado. A reminder, Wednesday, April 3rd, the Dodgers and the Giants and the first 40,000 fans in attendance will receive their very own Dodger hooded sweatshirt, compliments of Coca-Cola. Stay warm at the stadium and at home by purchasing your tickets today at Dodgers.com/promotions. You don't think that Garland's a decent fit at Coors Field with all those ground balls that he gets?
Well, he's, for the longest time, it seemed like Coors Field was full of guys that weren't sinker ball pitchers. A lot of fly ball pitchers in the wrong stadium. I mean, if someone's going to work out well there, he would be the guy, that hard, heavy sinker.
Look at the big show. Base hit to center field for Aaron Harang, so everything's equal now. Harang gave up a base hit to John Garland, and now Garland gives up a base hit to Aaron Harang.
You see how hitterish Aaron Harang looks up there at the plate. Pretty good. Short, compact swing, ball down in the zone. He went right down there and dug it up.
Two-out base runner for the Dodgers. Harang not going to be held on.
With his speed?
Maybe a mistake. In case you're wondering, he does not have a stolen base attempt in his big league career. Carl Crawford swings to the first pitch, hits it right back to Garland, and the side is retired. A 2-out base hit by Aaron Harang goes by the wayside. 5 solid innings for former Dodger John Garland. It's a 5-1 lead for the Rockies. Rockies on top of the Dodgers by a score of 5-1. One home run in the game. It was a big one. Michael Kanyer, a grand slam home run back in the first inning. Let's take a look at the upcoming Dodgers schedule brought to you by Toyota. Split squad coming up on March 28th, a couple of days' time. Half the team going to take on the Angels. Other half going to take on the Quakes, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes of the Cal League.
Playing at the epicenter.
Why not? Mascot is?
Tremor.
Oh, man, you're all over it. And the Freeway Series continues, 29th, 30th, back and forth, Dodger Stadium and Angel Stadium. And then it all starts for real. April 1st, Dodger Stadium. The Giants come to town.
The Dodgers do such a great job with opening day. And, of course, these days they call it opening week. It is such a big event. They celebrate the entire week.
First ball swinging, Nolan Arenado. California kid bounces out. New third baseman Nick Punto makes the play. Punto throws out Arenado, out number one. Juan Uribe is lifted. So 3 changes from the original starting lineup. Punto now over at third. Schumacher in at second. And in right field, it's Alex Castellanos. All right, for Dodger fans at home, new addition to this year's team, Skip Schumacher. What's going to be the difference between Schumacher and Punto and how they're used on the roster this year?
Well, Schumacher's a little more versatile. He's a pretty darn good outfielder. He can play center field. Punto's more of an infield utility player, but Schumacher can do that as well. So I'd say a little bit more versatile. I think he swings the bat a little bit better. Schumacher was a guy that they went out and actively pursued to get onto this ball club. Got a nice career.
Aaron Harang, 1 ball, 1 strike to Ramon Hernandez. These two were teammates in Cincinnati. Harang used to throw to Ramon Hernandez. 2-1. Hernandez trying to make this team or any team. He right now is standing third on the depth chart in terms of catchers for the Rockies, behind Willeen Rosario and Yorvit Torrealba.
It's kind of funny you ask the differences between a guy like Punto and Schumacher. They physically look a lot the same. They're neighbors and have been for a long time. Been best of friends down in Southern California for a lot of years now. They will ride into the ballpark together every day. So they almost feel a little bit like little leaguers. They say we've been friends for so long, never actually played on the same team. Now we are.
3-2. Misses outside. That is the first walk allowed by Harang since that fateful first inning. 4 walks, 4 strikeouts for Harang. Bring the kids to Dodger Stadium Sunday, April 7th, and Dodgers facing the Pirates. First 15,000 ticketed kids, 14 and under in attendance, will receive their very own Matt Kemp replica jersey, compliments of Dreyer's Grand Ice Cream. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. That's a big deal. Matt Kemp replica jersey, good old number 27. That'd be pretty cool. All right, Aaron Harang, he is done. He's lifted after the walk to Hernandez. We'll tell you about the new pitcher when we come back to Glendale, Arizona. exchange. First one of the game. Aaron Harang lifted after 5 1/3. He's responsible for the runner on at first. New pitcher for the Dodgers, veteran right-hander Kevin Gregg.
Kevin Gregg's been around for a little while too. Pitched with the Angels, Florida Marlins, Cubs, Toronto, Baltimore.
This is the second consecutive Dodger pitcher that's beginning his outing with goggles on. I bet Kevin Gregg keeps his on longer than Aaron Harang did.
He always wears his.
And you got the proper advertisement behind home plate. Jonathan Herrera is the batter. 0-2.
Gregg is having a great spring for himself. He's sort of one of those long shots coming in, but he's done absolutely nothing to hurt his chances. I mean, he's one of those guys that are almost thinking about forcing his way onto this team somehow. If they can find a spot to put him.
And the Dodgers still have 36 men in camp. Obviously, you got to get it down to 25.
He's pitched 9 innings, given up 3 hits.
Breaks Herrera's bat, could be 2. Schumacher gets the out at first, and now they've got Hernandez in a pickle. Yeah, Dodgers played that one well, it appears. Gregg gets in the middle of that. They didn't play it so well. You don't really want your pitcher in the middle of a rundown, but whatever works, huh? Kevin Gregg comes out of the pen, gets that double play ground out. We move to the home half of inning number 6. Dodgers need some runs, down 5-1.
Obstruction call, in my opinion, could have been called. Watch Schumacher make contact right there. It looked to me like he touched him. That would be obstruction. And then they go on to get the double play against Hernandez. It took him a little while, and there was a bunch of people involved, but you could have called obstruction right there because contact was made with Schumacher, and you can't obstruct or impede the runner from trying to get to second base. However, Schumacher did everything else perfectly. He held up Hernandez enough. You can't hold him up too long because then you can't throw to first and get the out. The guy's running down the first baseline. Get the out there, they make the throw back, and they get the double play the hard way.
And as usually happens, when you set up a 4-3-6-3-1 double play, you generally are always the first batter the next half inning. Skip Schumacher going to lead things off for the Dodgers here in the home half of the 6th inning. Schumacher's first at bat. He replaced Mark Ellis defensively a couple of innings ago.
I think you have to tell the truth on that one. Did you know it was a 4-3-6-3-1 double play, or did you get help with it?
I needed the official score to tell me, but I did watch it the first time around. Is it ever appropriate for a pitcher to get involved in that rundown?
He shouldn't be in there. I mean, you know, jokingly, all the everyday players call the pitchers the non-athletes. So get the ball out of their hands as quickly as you can and get it into the sure-handed fielders.
John Garland still on the mound for the Rockies. Garland has gone 5 strong, given up 4 hits and just 1 run. Dodgers have one extra base hit against Garland. That was a triple by Ethier in the second inning. Sharply on the ground. Oh, look at Kadire. Veteran lays out, makes a nice play.
That's just great instincts right there. And remember, Kadire's not really a first baseman. They figured he could fill in over there and give Todd Helton a breather. And then when Helton retires, he's got one more year left on his deal, so he'd probably slide into being the everyday first baseman, but naturally a right fielder.
Michael Kadire, first-round pick out of the Norfolk, Virginia area. There's been a lot of great baseball players coming out of that area in recent years.
The Uptons, David Wright, all in that same area.
Mark Reynolds. Sure. Here's Matt Kemp. Kemp walked his first time up, saw a bunch of pitches in the third inning, eventually grounded out to short.
Well, some nice things happening for the Dodgers. You mentioned that Clayton Kershaw, regionally on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine, and Matt Kemp is going to make an appearance on one of the all-time best shows ever.
Oh, Sesame Street.
Yes, indeed.
That's pretty cool.
He's going to do a segment called The Word of the Day with Abby.
Abby Cadabby.
from Sesame Street.
Base hit for Kemp, his first of the evening. He's now 1 for 2. Do we know what the word of the day is, or are we allowed to say it?
I do not know what the word of the day is. I'm sure Matt may have an idea.
It's Thursday, coming up 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. PBS, of course, Sesame Street. It's been around for a long time. Started in 1969. Jackie Robinson
has been on
Sesame Street. Kobe Bryant.
You've pretty much made it if you make an appearance on Sesame Street.
Adrian Gonzalez double play ball. Garland fields, throws to second, on to first. Side is retired. Inning is over. Man, that was quick. Double play turned. 1-6-3 to the seventh we go. 5-1 Rocks. Trailing the Rockies 5-1. Aaron Harang pitching the first 5 1/3. His day is done. He was replaced by Kevin Gregg, who also is finished. Final line on Harang, 5 1/3. Gave up 4 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned. He walked 4 and struck out 5. You have to wonder what happens next with Aaron Harang.
More and more decisions having to be made on this team down the stretch, headed into opening day, which is on Monday. A lot of these players who have either been sent down or are still on the roster and still collecting that big league meal money, they're going to be in the Freeway Series. You'll see them against the Angels for 3 straight nights before the final decisions are made.
Paco Rodriguez, the lefty from Florida, was drafted and made it to the big leagues all in the same year last summer. Just a whirlwind for him, of course, in the College World Series and then in a pennant race, all in the same summer. Paco Rodriguez coming on to pitch this 7th inning. And he'll face a pinch hitter. Hernan Iribarren is going to bat. He is a backup infielder with the Rockies. Iribarren from Venezuela. Left-handed hitter, takes down low.
Well, Rodriguez has done a great job in this spring training, too. His ERA is under 2, giving up just 7 hits in 10 innings pitched. He's another one of those guys that I think Don Mattingly would love to have on his team. If you look at the way the roster, and you can, all you Dodger fans, you can do this at home, grab the roster and pick 25 guys that you think have to be on the team or should be on the team or where they are. You're going to find that you end up with about 30 guys. You got to whittle them down. Rodriguez is one of those guys that doesn't have to make the club, but they certainly want him to. They're going to find a way to make that happen, I think, so that Don Mattingly can have 2 lefties out of that bullpen. You got J.P. Howell that they signed. Rodriguez is a guy, one of the reasons why Don Mattingly likes him so much is that he's a left-handed pitcher that does a pretty good job of getting right-handed hitters out as well. So he's not a left-handed specialist to come in, pitch just to get out one lefty or pitch 1 inning and get out of there.
Count goes full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Rodriguez working to Iribarren, who has spent some time in the big leagues, parts of 2 seasons in 08 and 09 with the Brewers. Ball gets away from the catcher Ellis, and it's going to be a leadoff walk. Well, you come out of the bullpen, and I don't care if it's a 5-1 game or whatever the situation is, always important to get that first guy out. The last thing you'd want to do, I guess that would be a home run, but one of the last things you'd want to do is walk the leadoff man. And Paco has just done that. Only a spring training game, but people are watching. Back to the top of the lineup, Eric Young.
Eric Young jumps to the other side of the plate, being a switch hitter, hit from the right side now against Rodriguez. Talked about the contrasting lefties here between Rodriguez and Howell. Howell actually spent a year in Tampa Bay in the big leagues, a couple years actually as a starting pitcher. Once they converted him to being a reliever, he was basically a 1-inning guy.
0-2 now to Young. Steve, when you talk to scouts and they're evaluating players, sometimes they talk about ceilings and floors. What's this guy's ceiling? How good can he be? And what's the certainty of him getting to that ceiling? And then the floor would be the other side. You know, what's worst case scenario? Where is he kind of his baseline? There's a strikeout on 3 pitches. Rodriguez strikes out Young. Get back to that in a moment. Let's talk about some trivia right now and answer our question from a moment ago. It all is based on Clayton Kershaw making his 3rd opening day start. Who has the most opening day starts as a pitcher in Dodger history?
One of them, well, there it is, Double D and Don Sutton. 7 opening day starts. And if I'm not mistaken, Don Drysdale was getting a lot of those opening day starts when Sandy Koufax was hanging around too.
2 pretty good pitchers, and Don Drysdale and Don Sutton. 1 out here in the 7th inning. Reed Brignac stepping to the plate. He walked and scored on the Michael Kadire grand slam back in the 1st inning. Anyway, Steve, getting back to ceilings and floors, Paco Rodriguez may not have the world's highest ceiling. He may never be an elite starting pitcher. He's probably going to be kind of a bullpen guy. But most of the baseball world, at least the scouting world, thinking he's got a fairly certain floor. He's got a chance right out of college, almost, to play at the big leagues and contribute as a situational lefty.
Yeah, I don't think he knows what his floor is or has even seen it, because everything he's done so far as a pro has been positive and he's moved upward. in the big leagues in his first year. This is, like I said before, this is a guy that Don Mattingly would love to have on the team.
I know you didn't play back in the 50s or anything, but Paco Rodriguez is kind of a creation of just the last handful of years of the way baseball operates. This is a guy who was a closer in college and gets drafted high in the Major League draft and never really is groomed as a starting pitcher. The thinking always has been, this is a guy who's going to be a bullpen arm.
That happens a lot more often these days than it ever used to.
Carlos Gonzalez is going to get a look here at Paco Rodriguez. Now, Dodgers' first-round pick a year ago was Corey Seager out of a high school in North Carolina. The very next pick was this guy, Paco Rodriguez. Seager being a high school player, he is still a number of years away from being a potential Los Angeles Dodger, but Corey Seager is highly, highly thought of. That's a base hit through the right side of the infield. They're going to send Iribarren around from second, and he scores on the throw from right from Castellanos. Run number 6 for the Rockies. So an RBI for Gonzalez. That's his second run-scoring single over the last 3 innings.
Chris Reed, another guy right out of Stanford, high-round pick by the Dodgers, did nothing but relief.
But different from Paco Rodriguez is Chris Reed has been converted into a starter, and Chris Reed has become one of the better prospects not only in the Dodger chain but in all of baseball.
Which is odd because that's, like you say, you're like pigeonholed into one certain thing. You spent your whole life being just a closer, and then you get drafted first round, I believe, wasn't he?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
And they say, nope, you're going to be a starter for us. Now, it happens the other way all the time. You see starters go to relievers all the time. You rarely see it happen the other way.
Michael Kadire is going to be intentionally walked.
And quite frankly, the reason why you see a lot of starters become relievers is because they're not very good as a starter. So they're picking the next option. See if I can do this.
It's been a tough 7th inning for Paco. He has given up a leadoff walk to Iribarren, struck out Eric Young, but then back-to-back singles, Brignac and Gonzalez. And now the intentional walk to Kadire. The bases are loaded. And he's going to have a talking to. This is Rick Honeycutt, Dodger pitching coach, having a conversation with not only Rodriguez but also A.J. Ellis.
That's where Paco Rodriguez really needs to use that sinking fastball, the two-seamer, get a ground ball. Looking for a double play here in this situation. That was the reason for the walk there, to set up the double play. And now with Colvin coming to the plate, another lefty.
Colvin happy that Aaron Harang out of the game. He struck out twice against Harang. Also popped out to the second baseman. Bases loaded, just 1 out. On the ground, Gonzalez with a nice pick to second for 1, over to first. Not in time. Rodriguez couldn't find the bag. All the pitcher fielding practice, and Rodriguez not able to translate what happens in practice to a game situation. Simply couldn't find first base.
Well, watch Gonzalez set this up again. Quick feet, sweet hands. Just let the ball come to him in that situation. Didn't charge it. It looked to me like his foot was on the base, didn't it?
He was right over the base. Maybe he wasn't touching it. It was in the area.
What I liked about that play is, even though, watch, Rodriguez thinks he's on the base. Here he's got his left foot, yeah, well, maybe they both hit there at the same time, but watch how quickly he reacts now, knowing that there are other guys on base. He thought the inning was over there. He thought he had the double play, but he didn't argue, didn't hang his head. The presence of mind for a young pitcher to realize, hey, there's still a guy on third base. I better make sure that he doesn't score. You got to like that reaction.
So it goes as an RBI ground out for Colvin. 2 runs have scored here in the 7th inning, both of them credited to Rodriguez. 2 outs, runners on at the corners. Arenado, very aggressive. Fouls one third base side. Arenado is the future third baseman for the Rockies. Not going to start the season at the hot corner. That's going to be Chris Nelson. But his time will come.
Talking about him being the number 1 or number 2 prospect within their organization.
7-1, Rockies lead. Looped foul.
Talked about this a couple times when Rodriguez pitches. He has a very deliberate motion when he pitches. Almost shows the hitter the ball, although talk to some guys and they say you don't see the ball that well. He hides it pretty good, but it doesn't look like he's hiding it. Shows it right to you right before he delivers the ball. Gets it up very quickly up above his head and then kind of hesitates and shows you the ball there before he goes into his delivery to let go of it.
Rodriguez pitched a grand total of 16 games. Make that 21 games at the minor league level before getting that big league call-up. Just incredible. "29 days of service time at the big league level." He's a big guy, 6'3", 220 pounds. How about this? His big league debut coming against the Giants on the road. Pressure situation. September 5th, pennant race game. Working against Brandon Belt. Brandon Belt, man. You see what he's doing right now for the Giants?
Bunch of homers.
Jeez.
Belting some balls.
He's got a 900 slugging percentage. That is best in all of baseball this year. Either the Cactus League or the Grapefruit League over in Florida. Everyone's talking about Yasiel Puig hitting .526. Well, in terms of power numbers, no one, even Puig, has been better than Brandon Belt this year for the Giants. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Called strike 3. Second strikeout for Paco Rodriguez, but 2 more runs cross home plate. It is a 7-1 lead. Rockies on top of the Dodgers. SoCal 9, sponsored by the Lexus Command Performance Sales Event, now through March 31st. And by Skechers Go Run 2 footwear, designed for speed. Just a gorgeous evening here. Final home game for the Dodgers here in this Cactus League season. Dodgers still have a game against Seattle tomorrow. And that'll be a road game, and then that freeway series over the weekend. Dodgers trailing the Rockies 7-1. New pitcher coming on for the Rockies. Rafael Betancourt, veteran right-hander, will come on and pitch this 7th inning.
Betancourt's been getting banged around just a little bit, has not made a lot of appearances, just his 5th game. But in 3 2/3 innings, given up 7 hits, 5 earnings, and a couple home runs. So he's had a tough time so far this spring in limited action. His ERA is 12.27.
Well, how good was John Garland?
Thought he was going to go 9 today.
Went 6 solid innings, 5 hits, 4 singles. He only gave up that triple to Andre Ethier. That was the only run that the Dodgers would score. Ethier tripling in the 2nd inning and scoring on a ground out by Juan Uribe. Here's Alex Castellanos. Big swing and a miss. Castellanos came on defensively in the 3rd inning. He flied out to left field against John Garland in the 4th. It's his only plate appearance so far today. Hernan Iribarren stays in the game in left field. Charlie Blackmon is now the center fielder. And Michael Kadire has been lifted. Jordan Pacheco is the first baseman. Well, we went from John Garland, who's always been one of the quickest pitchers in the game, to Rafael Betancourt, who's actually one of the few pitchers that have ever been called for a delay of game. Betancourt was pitching for the Cleveland Indians, and they were taking on the Tigers, and Jim Leyland was fed up. Detroit Tigers skipper was chirping and chirping and chirping, and eventually got the call that he wanted. They called Betancourt for a delay of game, and an automatic ball was credited. Out of play right side. 2 balls, 2 strikes. But Betancourt's made a really nice career out of himself using that teeny glove of his.
Well, old habits die hard. He's a former infielder. He loves those small gloves. You get a good feel for it. Came up as a shortstop, didn't he?
He was. I never made it to the big leagues as a shortstop. But yeah, he was a minor leaguer in the Red Sox chain as an infielder.
I think someone finally said, you had a pretty good arm. We're going to throw you on the hill out there and see how you can do.
Castellanos strikes out number 1 here in the 7th inning. You know what? That's obviously it's happened throughout all of baseball. The most famous one, Babe Ruth, of course, was a pitcher who converted out to a right fielder. But it seems like more and more frequently these days, guys just not getting it done and moving back and forth. Rick Ankiel. Kenley Jansen, of course, locally.
Kenley Jansen was the catcher for the Netherlands team in the last
World Baseball
WBC.
Classic. Wasn't that long ago.
Now he's an elite closer in the big leagues and happily with the Dodgers.
On the ground. DJ LeMahieu has an opportunity and he can't make it. So Cruz is going to be safe for the first time today. He reached his first base. 1-out base runner for the Dodgers. Here's Nick Punto. His first at bat, he replaces Uribe, who went 0 for 2 with an RBI ground ball out. Was the numbers combined last year with the Red Sox and Dodgers. Dodgers taking on Seattle tomorrow. Just a terrific pitching matchup. Going to be the opening day starters for both the Dodgers and the Mariners. Clayton Kershaw against Felix Hernandez. Mariners doing something in the offseason that I still can't figure out. They moved the fences in Safeco Field. Obviously, their offense has just been off the charts bad last couple of years, but they made it sound as if you can't win at Safeco Field with the dimensions. When you just have to go back, 10, 11 years when they had all those wins playing at Safeco Field when they set the record for most regular season wins?
Different type of ball club.
But the same ballpark.
I think they wanted to stimulate a little more offense, period. I think they wanted to see the ball go out of the ballpark a little more often. And let's face it, I truly believe that one of the reasons why Ken Griffey Jr. left there was because at that point in time in his career, he felt like he was the guy that had the best track to breaking Babe Ruth's home run record. Didn't work out that way, but he saw Safeco Field and said, I'm not going to be able to hit that many home runs here like I used to hit them in the Kingdome. And that's why he ended up in Cincinnati.
History will prove that that wasn't probably the most astute decision to make.
I had a couple of really good years, then got hurt, and then kind of was hurt off and on.
But how about those Mariners teams when you had Brett Boone putting up big numbers, Alex Rodriguez putting up big numbers, Edgar Martinez at the height of his powers?
Yeah, all of those guys were putting up big numbers at the Kingdom first before they moved over to Safeco, too.
3-1 to Punto. Out of play. Dodgers making it to Safeco Field for the first time in a while a year ago. And the first game they played on a Friday night at Safeco Field. Unusual. A six-headed no-hitter was thrown by the Mariners. Remember who started that game?
The 6 guys got the name. Kevin Millwood.
Good job. Called strike 3, Punto is called out on strikes. Out number 2 here in the 7th inning.
Punto's one of those guys happy to be in the lineup, likes to play. That ball's up and away a little bit. Probably close enough to be called a strike, but when you're the hitter, you certainly don't want it to be called a strike. And Nick was headed to first base thinking that he got a walk.
So 2 outs here in the 7th inning, both of them coming on called strike 3s. Castellanos and Punto victimized by Betancourt. Here's A.J. Ellis. A.J. Ellis, should he continue this inning, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Corey Seager back. We talked about Corey Seager just a moment ago. Seager, the Dodgers' first-round pick a year ago. This is a guy who was a high school player a year ago, going to get a chance to bat here. If this ball gets down, it will. Steaming around from first. Look at Luis Cruz, round third. He will score. That's an RBI double for A.J. Ellis. Dodgers put another run on the board, and the inning continues. We're going to get a chance to see Corey Seager bat here.
Another good pitch out over the middle. We've seen A.J. Ellis put it himself in a position where he's getting good pitches to hit and not missing them.
This is just the 3rd spring training at bat, the 4th spring training at bat for Corey Seager. Seager's brother, actually, Kyle Seager, was in that game we were talking about, that 6-headed no-hitter. Kyle Seager is the everyday third baseman for Seattle. Dodgers will see him tomorrow, but we're seeing the younger Seager right now. This is the Dodgers' first-round pick from a year ago out of a high school in Kannapolis, North Carolina.
And even Kyle Seager says that his brother Corey is a better player, or certainly has the potential to be a better player.
Big kid, 6'4", 215 pounds.
Just doesn't look it, does he? He's got that baby face. He's a year out of high school. He just doesn't look 6'4", 215. And when you take a good look into his eyes, he just looks like a teenager.
.519 batting average, 10 homers, 13 stolen bases during his senior season a year ago. There's a called strike. 2-1.
Doesn't really look intimidated at all up there.
Seager, the 18th pick overall in last June's draft. 2-2. He is still 18 years of age. He's not going to turn 19 until April 27th. 18-year-old kid here batting in a game against a guy who's been in the big leagues for a long time in Rafael Betancourt. And Betancourt gets the best of the youngster. Hell, there'll be better days for Corey Seager. This guy, big-time talent and a big-time future. But it's out number 3. 8th inning is next. 7-2 Rockies. Nine, sponsored by SoCal Dodge Dealers and the Dodge Dart. Dodge, new rules. Top of the 8th inning. Rockies on top of the Dodgers by a score of 7-2. Both teams with 6 hits and an error. But only one team has a home run, and it was a grand slam. Michael Kadire back in inning number 1 against Aaron Harang. New pitcher now for the Dodgers, the 4th one of the game, Josh Wall, out of Don Mattingly's pen.
Hey, look at the numbers on Josh Wall. Talk about another big kid, 6'6", 220 for Wall. Another guy that came up last year and did a pretty nice job in limited appearances for the Dodgers, trying to fight his way back into the big leagues.
He'll be pitching to a new catcher into the game. A.J. Ellis lifted after that RBI double. Tim Fedorovich is going to be behind the plate. Former North Carolina Tar Heel. Fedorovich is going to be the Dodgers' backup catcher this year, after playing in just 3 games at the big league level last season and getting into just 7 games at the big league level in 2011. Do you have any worries about the Dodger catching situation? A.J. Ellis and Fedorovich being the only backstops on the roster?
Well, I don't mind just 2 catchers on the roster. I want to say that Luis Cruz is the emergency catcher who can sit back there if you have to. I'm just, I think everyone has to wonder whether everybody's ready. If Fedorovich is actually ready to play in the big leagues, especially in a reserve role. Being successful when you're playing every day is one thing. Being successful when you're playing once a week or less is quite something else.
Yorvi Torrealba pinch hitting, getting his first at bat into center field. Elian Herrera. Did he make that play? No, he didn't. I don't know how he didn't catch that. Looked like he had it, and all of a sudden he's looking behind him and the ball's rolling around in the warning track.
I think he thought he had it too. I thought maybe he was reaching in to take the ball out of his glove, but I don't think he was. Oh, just closed his glove too quickly, and the ball bounced out and then bounced off the bill of his cap and bounced behind him.
Second time today we've had a Dodger outfielder get a glove on the ball and have it pop out.
And a Dodger infielder, Mark Ellis.
2 errors in the game now for the Dodgers. Carl Crawford and now Elian Herrera. There's out number 1 here in the 8th inning. Moving over to third, Torrealba with 1 out. Second at bat now for Hernan Iribarren. He came on to pinch hit back in the 7th inning when the Rockies scored a couple of runs. He walked and scored a run. Dodgers are going to play in Peoria tomorrow against the Seattle Mariners. Clayton Kershaw against Felix Hernandez. And then 2 games will be played on Thursday. 1 Rancho Cucamonga and 1 in Anaheim. Dodgers and Angels. Dodgers have 3 consecutive games. Freeway series against the Angels Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Day off on Sunday. And then it all begins for real on Monday. April 1st, home opener against the Giants, Dodger Stadium. Clayton Kershaw, his 3rd consecutive opening day start. 2 outs now. Runner remains on at third. Last man to get for Wall is Charlie Blackmon.
Pretty sure taking over the reins as the opening day starter for the San Francisco Giants will be Matt Cain this year. Not Tim Lincecum, as has been years past.
I think it's going to be really interesting this year to see what Lincecum's still got left. Blackmon hits it into center field, sinking line drive, and Herrera makes the play. All right, he atones for the error. Keeps the Rockies off the board. Maybe not so good going back on the ball, but he's terrific coming in on it. Rockies still on top by 5. By a score of 7-2. A whole bunch of changes all over. Alfredo Amezaga going to lead things off for the Dodgers here, trailing by 5. MLB.com at bat is the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Available for iPhone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry 10. At bat delivers Dodgers baseball with live audio, pitch tracking, stats, news, highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Dodgers.com for details. Fredo Amezaga going to face off against Manny Corpus here in this 8th inning.
Manny Corpus, another one of those guys that we've talked about. The fact that in his entire career, he's never started a game. Always been a reliever. Kind of anointed him as the closer after the 2007 season, gave him a big deal, and then came back and just could not get it done. Bounced around doing different roles in that bullpen ever since. Couldn't throw a strike.
He's got a big arm, though.
Does have a big arm.
Two balls, no strikes to Amezaga. Schumacher will follow him. If this is your first look at the Rockies this year, they've gotten rid of that. Remember the hybrid pitching system they had last year where no one is allowed to pitch more than, I think, 75 pitches. And you have a designated starter and then a designated guy coming out to pitch the middle innings. And
yeah.
Just, they were bad from the beginning of the season, were the Rockies, and they figured, you know what, now is the time to try and see if something that we had speculated about works or doesn't work at the big league level. So they basically had a trial by error situation from June on, and they decided that that trial was in error. They scratched it, and now they're kind of going back to the normal 5-man rotation, pitch as long as you can type of deal.
It just didn't make sense to me to have to basically assign 2 pitchers to every game. If you're the starter, I'm going to be the guy that backs you up if you get blown out of there. Or if you hit your 75 pitches. Walt Weiss there, good look at him. I believe that's Tom Runnels to the left.
Schumacher takes inside. Well, one of the kooky things that happened, obviously you have a lot of young pitchers last year being trotted out there with Alex White and Drew Pomerantz and some guys who they really thought highly of at the time. And it was somewhat disheartening for these pitchers because you could pitch really well, but your 75 pitches come up and you get lifted. And if you don't go 5 innings in Major League Baseball, you don't even have the possibility of being the winning pitcher as the starter. And so a lot of these guys would have decent outings going, and they'd only last 4 1/3, and they'd be lifted. So I know it's a superficial statistic, but guys do care about wins and losses. And
sure.
You're looking at your line, and all of a sudden you're 2-7, even though you had pitched fairly well at certain times. And that was one of the drawbacks as well for that situation. When you don't pitch 5 innings, you really only can get the loss. You can't get the win.
Yep.
Three and 1 now to Schumacher. Now the way that it is right now, as you take a look at those numbers, man.
Is that the starting front 4? Which one's the center?
The fearsome foursome. Down the third base line, foul.
That guy made the play. Dove over the wall there, made the play.
Starting at left defensive end, number 89. '89 is Corey Seager, 18-year-old guy. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Corpus working to Schumacher. Amezaga on at first. Nobody out here in the 8th inning. Hard smash off LeMahieu's glove. That'll be a single. So back-to-back hitters get on against Corpus here in the 8th inning.
Nice hard hit ball up the middle by Shu right there. That's such a tough play right there for any shortstop because right as soon as you dive for it, it's going to be a short hop at you, and you're just trying to throw your glove up where you think it might be going. That just tipped off the fingers of LeMahieu and in for an easy base hit.
Two men aboard, nobody out. And Elian Herrera, his first at bat of the game. He replaced Matt Kemp defensively 2 innings ago. Steve, from all you saw of Herrera a year ago, and you saw a whole bunch of them all across the diamond, where did you feel his best defensive position was?
I still look at him as a middle infield type guy, second baseman, pretty good player around the bag, but he can't bounce around. We see him in the outfield. We just saw him make a funny play in the outfield and then a pretty nice play. He's got a really good jump on the ball he caught. Got a pretty good jump on the ball he didn't catch. He just didn't catch it. But his versatility is kind of what makes him stand out on this roster and what Don Mattingly likes about him, that he can play a bunch of different positions. I don't think he's necessarily a plus player defensively at any of them, but he's above average at them all.
Elliott was a great story a year ago. Guy's just been a plugger for a long time. And the Dodger organization finally getting an opportunity. And for a while, he was taking the opportunity and running with it in a big-time way. Eventually, I think the league may have caught up to him a bit, but he was solid enough. Not going to make this year's opening day roster, but I know Don Mattingly has no hesitations. If someone goes down, if they need a guy, Herrera is going to be on that short list. Talked about it earlier today. The Dodgers making 2 moves this afternoon. D. Gordon sent to AAA, Albuquerque. And Yasiel Puig gets sent down to AA. 3-2 pitch. Just disappears below the bat. That's out number 1.
I think Don Mattingly and his staff wanted to make that decision. As you look at the pitch just taking a dive into the dirt, Herrera swings at it right over the top of it. Nice hard sinking fastball right there from Corpus. And getting back to the D. Gordon situation, I think Donnie wanted to make that decision as soon as possible so that everyone else could relax. Basically said, all right, Gordon's going back to the minor leagues. Luis Cruz will be the shortstop for at least the next 2 months. And then there will be a little bit of a revolving door over there at third base, but all the guys that have a chance to play third base are happy about that opportunity to play. I just don't think that Don wanted that whole decision to linger on through these next couple games and into the Freeway Series before they made a definite decision, and they did it.
Tim Fedorovich is the batter. 1 ball, 1 strike. FedEx born in Erie, Pennsylvania, but he was raised in North Carolina, Apex, North Carolina. Played both baseball and basketball in high school. And went on to North Carolina. Went to 3 College World Series with the Tar Heels. Red Sox taking him in the 7th round of the 2008 draft. Of course, he came to the Dodgers in that trade that sent Trayvon Robinson over to the Red Sox. Turned out to be a decent deal for Ned Colletti and the Dodgers. They got both Fedorovich and Stephen Fife. Fife's done good things so far this spring. Stephen Fife, starting pitcher. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Fedorovich. Last year hitting .294 at Albuquerque. 11 homers, 76 runs batted in. Deep drive to left field. This one's got a chance. It's gone. A 3-run homer. Fedorovich. Three-run shot. Fedorovich, his first Cactus League home run.
Well, that's nice to see FedEx get a pitch that he handled and hit it out of this ballpark. He does have occasional power. He's known as the defensive catcher. His first home run of the spring had not been hitting much at all, right around 200, with a lot of at-bats down here.
That's just the second extra base hit for the Dodgers on the day. So the base is clear. Still just 1 out. Alex Castellanos is the batter. Castellanos, his 3rd at bat. He came on for Andre Ethier back in the 3rd inning. Dodgers now have out-hit the Rockies 9-6. They trail by 2. Dodgers still with 5 outs to work with.
Let me take a quick look at the Rocky Media Guide for 2013, and you realize that they are now in their 20th year of existence.
That is surprising.
Time flies. Another base runner for the Dodgers.
Manny Corpus has faced 5 men, and 4 of them have reached. A couple of singles, a walk, and a home run by Fedorovich. Jim Wright, the pitching coach for the Rockies. He replaces Bob Apodaca, who just basically said, I can't do this anymore. He left midway through last year. It's actually just said Coors Field is just, it wears you out. So they've only changed their pitching philosophy. Jim Wright, the pitching coach, the director of pitching from the big league team all the way down is Mark Wiley. As Rockies trying to come up with a consistent thought pitching-wise to deal with Coors Field and the altitude.
Too bad, too, because Bob Apodaca is an outstanding pitching coach, but I would say you go home a lot of days and throw your hands in the air and say, what am I actually doing? How am I helping these guys get better? When if you hit a ball in the air, it goes out of the ballpark.
Here's Chris Jacobs.
You and I have talked a lot about that in the games that we've done in Denver, about how usually you leave your starting pitcher in a little bit longer in games in Coors Field because you know he's going to give up runs. You can't just blow your starting pitcher out of there after the 3rd inning because you're getting beat 5-2, because then you're going to have a whole string of pitchers coming in because everyone's going to be giving up runs. You have to give guys a little bit more rope, and in turn, a lot of the starters don't like that much because they're giving up more runs. Their ERA is going up. A little tougher.
Jacobs fouls it away. Chris Jacobs last year spending his entire season in the Cal League playing for Rancho Cucamonga. 273 batting average, 17 homers. This is a guy who fills out the uniform. 6'5", 257 pounds. Out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Dodgers popping him in the 17th round back in 07. Runner from first on the move, and Castellanos has a stolen base. Dodgers not taking the foot off the gas here, down by a pair in the 8th inning.
Good jump. Corpus not really paying attention. As you talked about, late in the game, Dodgers down a couple of runs and still not scared to being aggressive on the bases and steal by it.
Jacobs hoping to run into one here and tie this one up. Pops it up. Play is made by Jordan Pacheco. There are now 2 outs. So Corpus 1 out away from ending this 8th inning, but he's got to deal with Nick Punto. Punto struck out looking, but that was against Rafael Betancourt an inning ago.
Punto might be having that conversation right now with the home plate umpire about that pitch he saw.
Well, pitching change. Manny Corpus is lifted. He faces 6 men, and he gives up 3 runs. Back to Glendale in a moment. Rockies by just 2. It's closest they've been since the first inning. New pitcher coming on for the Rockies. It's Logan Kensing.
Kensing's bounced around. This is his fifth major league organization. Spent most of his time with the Florida Marlins. Been off and on in the big leagues for 10 years now. With the Marlins, then the Washington Nats, the Yankees, Pittsburgh, and now the Colorado Rockies.
Kensing's going to try and do what Manny Corpus couldn't, end this 8th inning. Corpus gave up a couple of singles, walked a man, gave up a 3-run home run. Now Nick Punto going to bat. Alex Castellanos on at second. He walked and stole a base. And the throw down to second is short hop. Castellanos safe at the bag. DJ LeMahieu keeping the ball in the infield.
That one could have easily skipped away. It's always kind of funny when you talk about middle relief pitchers in the game of baseball. They don't have much to show for their careers sometimes. They don't get wins and losses very often. Many times if they do get a decision, they weren't really doing their job properly.
Vulture.
This is a guy like Kensing's been in the big leagues off and on for 10 years. Career record, 8-9. Yeah. You know, I'm a pitcher in the big leagues. Really? How many wins you have? 8. You know, but it's not his job to get wins.
How many games has he pitched total in the big leagues?
134.
Yeah.
Sneaking up, and he has really bounced around as well, too. So you're talking about he had 162 games in the minor leagues. So over those 10 years, literally pitched more in the minor leagues than he has in the big leagues, but spread it out. His first year in the big leagues was 2004. So he's been playing the game a while.
1 ball, 1 strike. Kensing throwing to Nick Punto. One of the reasons the Dodgers really like Nick Punto is, for the most part, he's played on winning teams. Been a Red Sox, he's been a Cardinal. Maybe most importantly, he was a Twin. Very few Twins have played in the last 10 years who you wouldn't consider to be sound in the way that they play the game. First Tom Kelly and then Ron Gardenhire. That's kind of what they do in Minnesota. Team full of grinders. Nick Punto is...
Or at least it's what they had done. I think that was the point that Kadire was making, was that he started seeing, not necessarily the organization, but at least the talent level in the organization start to head the other way. He thought maybe he should get out while the getting was good.
Up high. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Dodgers down by 2. Castellanos on at second. Nick Punto working against Logan Kensing.
Let's go, Dodgers!
Punto has been in the postseason 3 separate times. 2006 with the Twins. 2009 again with the Twins. And then a nice run with the Cardinals 2011. Winning the World Series against the Rangers. Nick went 3 for 14. Also drew 5 walks in that World Series against the Rangers. Doing a good work battling against Kensing. Fouls another one back. Dodgers playing their final home game here at Camelback Ranch. Another good attendance year for the Dodgers. 17 home dates. 133,460 people have come here to Camelback. High pop. That's going to make it into the stands. Average home attendance for the Dodgers here at Camelback Ranch, 7,851.
I think this is no question the jewel of the Cactus League here now. I think everyone knew it when they put it in. It's the biggest stadium in Cactus League play, so you have the opportunity to draw more fans, but just because you have more seats doesn't mean that more people are going to show up. Tons of Dodger fans come over. Also have the shared facility here with the White Sox, which is really the smart way to do it now. You can literally have a game at your park every day.
Three and two now to Punto.
Share the expenses, have a great facility. It's like, you know, do you ever even notice that the White Sox are here?
Never.
The way this is set up, it's kind of spread to one side or the other. The Dodgers, as we look out, take off the entire left side of the complex. The White Sox are on the other side. I never even notice them. Look out.
I actually wondered that question before. Do you think that they flipped the coin? How did they decide that the White Sox offices were going to be on the right field side and the Dodgers were on the left field side?
No idea.
It's kind of it makes sense that the Dodgers and the White Sox would share a facility. Jerry Reinsdorf, longtime chairman and owner of the White Sox, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, a big Dodger fan. And I know he's thrilled the fact that his team working out in the spring in conjunction with these Dodgers. Nothing working right now for Nick Punto. He has struck out twice since coming off of Don Mattingly's bench. He strikes out with a man on at second, and the Dodgers still down by 2. But they got to within 2 because of this blow. Tim Fedorovich, his first Cactus League home run. And we head to the 9th inning. Dodgers trailing 7-5. The game, it came back in the first inning, the 4th man of the game to bat against starting pitcher Aaron Harang. Michael Kadire leads the yard. It's a grand slam home run. First 3 men of the game all walked against Harang, and then the grand slam home run by Kadire. And the Rockies have led ever since. All right, 9th inning. New pitcher to tell you about, Peter Moylan coming out of the pen, trying to keep the Rockies within 2 of the Dodgers.
Peter Moylan, originally drafted by the Twins, had most of his success in the major leagues with the Atlanta Braves. Had some arm issues in his time and trying to make a little bit of a comeback now with the Dodgers.
He is originally from Australia, similar to Trent Olchen, who's been in the Dodger chain the last couple of years, not this year. And Olchen giving way to Peter Moylan as the resident Aussie.
A couple years with Atlanta and 2009, 2010. More than 85 appearances for the Braves, coming in as a setup guy.
He's not a young guy. He's 34 years of age. A little over 5 years of big league service time. We're going to read Brignac right now. Brignac is still in the game after starting this game. That's a rarity. He's the only player on either side that started the game that is still in the game.
First baseman number 15,
Brignac, out number 1. Bounces out to Skip Schumacher. Moylan 6'2", 225 pounds. 7 years at the big leagues, 20 wins, 9 losses. And it's just a terrific ERA, 2.59. Now all that is out of the bullpen, so you expect the ERA to be a little bit lower than a starting pitcher.
He's always been that sidewinding kind of guy, heavy sinker, good stuff.
Jordan Pacheco, kind of a jack of all trades. Came into the game defensively at first base, replacing Michael Kadire. Pacheco can also play third. He can also catch for you. Originally was a catcher in the Rockies chain and wasn't progressing defensively, but they thought he was progressing with a bat in his hands. And they said, you know what? Forget about the catching gear. See if you can play third and first and maybe fill in at left from time to time. Because this is what he does well. He can hit deep to left field. It's going to be off the wall. Amezaga is going to have to pick it up on the warning track. That's going to be a one-out double for Pacheco.
We've seen pretty good illustrations tonight. When the ball gets out over the plate, it gets hit hard. That ball's sinking back to the middle of the plate, right into the happy zone of Pacheco. Drills it over Amezaga's head. And as he talked about, they like his bat, trying to find a place to put him. Spent a lot of time playing third base last year for the Rocks.
So the runner on at second and just one out. Chris Nelson is going to get a ninth inning at bat. Nelson is going to be the everyday third baseman for the Rockies. This is a guy who much was expected of. He was first-round pick a number of years ago as a shortstop. Very next year after they drafted him, they drafted a guy named Troy Tulowitzki. Of course, Tulowitzki coming out of a college situation, so he was further along in terms of his development. Nelson was immediately blocked.
Tulo didn't look back.
If you're wondering where Troy Tulowitzki has been this evening, didn't make the trip. Tulowitzki, we're told, is perfectly healthy. Kind of a strange thing with him last year. Remember, he had that really bad quadriceps injury about 3-4 years ago. Well, scar tissue developed at the top of his quadriceps, and it turned out that he had a bad groin issue because of kind of the calcification and the scarring on the top of his quadriceps, and that's what they found out was the problem that ended his year last year. You see, that's all cleared out, and he's ready to go this season, but you saw what happened. No Troy Tulowitzki, and you really don't have much of a chance if you're the Rockies. He's that good.
Well, he's right in the middle of that order. He makes Cargo a better player. You don't have those two guys going. You can pitch around one or the other.
It's going to be interesting to see, though, because not only is Tulowitzki an elite hitter, but defensively, he's one of the best in the game with his range and his arm. And if you have a significant injury to your quadriceps, your groin, you figure maybe you lose a step defensively. You lose a step at Coors Field as a shortstop. You're not covering as much ground. That's trouble.
He's a big kid, too. I mean, I think a lot of people were thinking that Tulowitzki would eventually end up being a third baseman because of his size, but he's played a lot of years at short very productively. I don't know that range is his greatest feature because of his size, so losing a half a step is going to help you. But he's just one of those guys that if he gets to it, you're out. He's got a ridiculous gun of an arm. So he can range up the middle, get to balls, and then still throw you out because of the sensational arm that he has.
Who's got the best arm of any shortstop you've ever seen?
That I've ever seen? He'd be right there.
For a call, pretty darn good.
Call had a great arm. There's a guy named Jackie Gutierrez. Sean Dunston
Oh, sure.
used to wing it over there as hard as he could. I played with a guy named Jackie Gutierrez who had one of the best arms I ever saw. He got to the big leagues with the Red Sox, played a couple years there, moved on to the Baltimore Orioles. We were in the minor leagues together. He used to be able to stand at home plate and throw a ball straight over the center field wall.
Oh,
There's not too many guys that can do that. It was like he wasn't even trying that hard.
Moylan, 3 balls, 2 strikes to Nelson.
I think one of the things about guys that have strong arms is that it's way more important for the strength of that arm to be accurate too. Remember Sean Dunston used to throw the ball across the diamond so hard, but Mark Gray spent a lot of time digging that stuff out of the dirt too.
You know, someone who's got a really strong arm and it's always accurate is Juan Uribe of the Dodgers. I don't think I've ever seen him make a throwing error. The humpback liner speared by the second baseman Schumacher. And there are now 2 outs here in this 9th inning. So final chance to keep the inning alive. Tyler Colvin grabs the bat.
Would you say had maybe the best arm, period?
Oh, goodness.
Raul Mondesi
I always
might
think
be.
of right fielders and guys like Jesse Barfield and Mondesi.
Dwight Evans had a great arm.
Dave Parker.
Ichiro.
How come I'm thinking of nothing but late 70s guys?
Clemente. Mostly right fielders.
Corey Snyder.
Had a good arm.
Tyler Colvin's going to be intentionally walked. This is the 3rd intentional walk we have seen in today's game. They're going to intentionally walk Colvin, get to Nolan Arenado.
Get back to the right-hander, I guess, is the only real reason there. You're looking at 2 outs, not like you're trying to set up a double play. You do set up a force. Get a sidewinding righty facing a right-handed hitter. Although Colvin wasn't having that great a day.
Yeah, Colvin 0 for 4. He's thrilled that he got intentionally walked. 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So here's Arenado. Aaron Harang started this game for the Dodgers, gave up 4 runs to the first 4 batters he faced. 3 walks and a grand slam home run to Michael Kadire. But after that, Harang righted the ship and pitched solidly, going 5 1/3, giving up just those 4 earned runs. Didn't give up an unearned run later in the game. Kevin Gregg has also pitched, Paco Rodriguez, Josh Wall, and now Peter Moylan. For the Rockies, we've seen John Garland, Rafael Betancourt, Manny Corpus, and Logan Kensing. They had no problems whatsoever with Garland and Betancourt. It wasn't until Corpus and Kensing came in that the Dodgers were able to get the offense going. A run in the 2nd, a run in the 7th, and 3 in the 8th for the Dodgers.
That's a pretty good reason why you put the left-handed hitter on base and you throw to the righty. When you're throwing that kind of a sweeping breaking ball against a right-handed hitter, you can make him look pretty foolish. And why not try it again?
On 3 pitches, Moylan strikes out Arenado, and the side is retired. Moylan pitches around that 1-out double to Pacheco. We've moved to the bottom of the 9th, 7-5 Rockies. Inning last hope for the Dodgers here in their last home game of the Cactus League season. Rockies on top of the Dodgers by a score of 7-5. Dodgers putting 3 runs on the board in the 8th inning. One swing of the bat, Tim Federovich, 3-run home run. New pitcher coming on for the Rockies, Chris Volstad. Veteran right-hander, 6'8", 230 pounds. Trying to make this Rockies team.
Volstad used to be the pride of the Florida Marlins. They thought he was well on his way to being an all-star caliber pitcher. 2010, just a couple seasons ago, he was 12-9 in Florida. Last year, he was with the Cubs, and admittedly on a bad team, but he went 3-12 for the Cubs. Now, as you said, trying to figure it out here with the Colorado Rockies.
Now the first man he'll face is Matt Engel. Engel, the former Ohio State Buckeye. Takes the first pitch he sees. Into the gap, left center field. Engel can run very well. He's on his way to second, and he'll make it standing with a leadoff double. Engel now in his second spring with the Dodgers. Jumps on a first pitch fastball.
It's all about this ballpark, as you talked about Andre Ethier having a number of triples, 3 triples down here in the spring. If you get it into the gaps, it can rattle around out there a little bit. It's a big outfield, even though the ball jumps out of here pretty well. You could keep running for a while.
All right, Dodger fans right now are thrilled that they stayed with this game because you get your second chance to watch Corey Seager bat. Last year's first-round pick out of a high school in North Carolina. 18th pick overall. This is an 18-year-old kid. Seager is still a shortstop. The thinking is, will he be able to stay at shortstop, or will he kind of outgrow the position? He's 6'4". His older brother, Kyle Seager, the everyday third baseman for the Seattle Mariners. Kyle was a college player at North Carolina. Was actually teammates with Tim Federovich. Corey Seager, of course, had an opportunity to play collegiately. Decided, you know what? I'm a first-round pick. I'm not going to screw around. I'm going to sign. Lashes it right side, but right to the second baseman, Brynja. And Seager is retired.
Things have started to change in the way that they do the draft with the slotting and the amount of money that you can spend on your drafted players. But back then, if you get drafted and you're a first rounder, they're going to make you a very rich man.
So Seager is retired. 1 out in the 9th inning. Alfredo Amezaga will bat. Amezaga getting on back in the 8th inning and scoring on the Federovich home run.
Amezaga spent time with the Angels and the Florida Marlins. They loved him. A couple seasons he played with the Marlins because he was so versatile. Felt like they would wear him out if they played him every day, but they certainly had him in there 5 or 6 times a week, playing up the middle, second base, shortstop, and out in center field. They wanted him in a lineup somehow every day just because he was a spark plug type player, played hard, can run a little bit.
He's now 35 years of age.
Doesn't look it.
Spent all of last year playing AAA baseball with the Cubs. His summer in Des Moines.
Well, last time he was in the big leagues was 2010 with the Nats.
That's a fair ball down the third base line. Engel scores. Amezaga heading for second. And he's safe. Oh, I think the ball beat him. But the tag didn't.
Well, it was a good slide, but it was a slow setting up slide. He started sliding about halfway to second base, I think. If he had this to do over again, I bet he'd take one more step. That ball just bouncing down the third base line. He's going to come around second. He decides to go for it. Throw off the other foot. Look how long he's sliding into second base. Look at this. There's a great shot of it. Come on, come on, come on. Oh! That is such a good. It's amazing what these guys can do while they're sliding now. Of course, he had like 5 minutes to figure that out. He was on the ground so long. I think it's so creative what guys do now when they try to slide to avoid tags.
Skip Schumacher fouls the pitch away. Meziga's come off the bench. He's 2 for 2. Single and a double and a run batted in. He scored a run. Schumacher a chance to tie this game or possibly end it with a big fly. On the ground, first baseman Pacheco going to race to the bag. There are now 2 outs. Moving over to third goes a Meziga. So we've reached the tipping point. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th inning. Dodgers down by a run. Runner on at third, and Elian Herrera will bat.
You and I talk about this a lot, and it almost never happens, but one of the really cool plays in a situation like this is to drop a bunt down the third base line.
Oh, 2 outs, huh?
Sure. Just saw the third baseman now pull in about 5 extra steps. He was playing deeper. He had that same thought in mind. Drop a bunt down. Guy walks home. He scores. You're safe at first. You got a tie ball game.
First ball swinging softly right side. Brignac throws out Herrera, and that'll do it. The Dodgers' home slate here at Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona is done for 2013. The Dodgers a 1-run loser against the Rockies. But these games don't count. Regular season 6 days away. April 1st at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers and the Giants. Those games, well, they will count. Rockies win it by a score of 7-6. Aaron Harang is your loser. Aaron didn't pitch particularly poorly after that first inning, which was not his best effort. We will see what happens with Aaron Harang as the Dodgers finish out their final cuts and roster decisions over the next couple of days.
It's going to be tough decisions for Don Mattingly and his staff, too, because you have guys that are deserving, guys that have been around, guys that you know have been there before and probably can get you some results again, but you have to make some tough decisions in that starting rotation.
So the final score, Rockies, they put 7 runs on the board on 7 hits. The big one, the home run by Michael Kadire. Grand slam home run in the first inning. The Dodgers, they would have 1 home run as well. It was Tim Fedorovich, a 3-run home run in the 8th inning. Rockies win it by 1. For my partner Steve Lyons and our entire crew down here at Camelback Ranch, I'm Eric Collins saying so long, everybody.